I believe we're not on mute, so. Or unmuted, so.
Okay. Oh, wait a
Right in the
minute.
bottom lower right-hand part of your screen, if you can.
I know. Oh,
6 now.
thank you. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6 p.m. This is a regular meeting for Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025. Madam Clerk.
Tim Hale.
Here.
Stephanie Nowers.
Here.
Dee McKee, are you on the phone?
I am, yes.
Maxwell Sumner.
Present.
Bill Gamble.
Here.
Dimitri Ponoff.
Here.
Ron Bernier.
Present.
Madam Mayor, you have a quorum.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything that any of the members would like to pull from the consent agenda?
This is Dee. I'd like to pull RS 25061 and discuss it.
Okay, 25061. All right.
Huh?
Thank
That's
you.
the only one.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, are there any other changes to the agenda that anybody would like to make? Okay, hearing none, then the agenda is approved. You all stand, and Mr. Attorney, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under
Under
God,
God.
indivisible,
Indivisible.
with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is the minutes of preceding meetings. The Assembly regular meeting on May 6th, budget deliberations on May 8th, budget deliberations on May 13th. Are there any changes to these minutes that are being presented? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the minutes are approved as presented. The next item that we have is reports and communications under agency reports. Do we have a report from the city of Wasilla at this time, or is it going to be later, ma'am? Okay.
Good evening, Assembly. Crystal Nygaard, Deputy Administrator for City of Wasilla. Just wanted to invite all of you tomorrow to the groundbreaker event at Sun Mountain for the Hilton Home 2 Suites. They'll be providing 107 rooms with a swimming pool, and it's really the investment that we've made over the last 24 months in the water infrastructure to allow that to happen. We are also kicking off music in the park, so we'll have a concert series at the Idita Park every week, and then we're getting ready for our 4th of July parade. But we have a lot of construction going on, a lot of permitting happening, and we just once again want to thank you for the partnership that you allow for us to continue this progress forward. And we're catching up on infrastructure. We aren't there yet, but it's a great place for us to make the investment for long-term growth and sustainable predictability for our developers. So thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead. You want to give the address or something?
Yeah, so the Hilton will be located up at the Sun Mountain Development District, which is up by Planet Fitness. Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty, I don't see City of Palmer or City of Houston. Okay, I don't see school district. I don't see anybody from the state. It's my understanding there was no meeting of the Joint Assembly and School Board Committee on school issues. And Assembly Public Relations. Is there anybody from the Assembly that would like to state anything about public relations? Well, I had a couple of things. One, of course, was the groundbreaking, but Crystal already filled us in on that. Then we've had the Palmer Boys Soccer Tournament, and they won the state championship for the first time in 30 years. And the little bit of additional insight is Coach Livingston, who is the coach of the soccer team, was on the team 30 years ago, and his son is on the team now. So that's sort of a fun type thing. And then, of course, we also had a world-class gymnast from Palmer High. So the next item is manager's report.
All right, thank you,
Mr.
Madam
Brown,
Mayor.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to go at this from down here quickly this evening. I'm Mike Brown, Borough Manager. I am hoping to get through this in as simple and quick as a fashion as I can, but obviously what you will see under introductions tonight is an ordinance to introduce a fuel excise tax. It's already the rage on Facebook. So I wanted to provide a little bit of a staff report on that. It will be introduced for July 15th. So this isn't something the Assembly is going to take action on tonight or for the next month and a half. So I'm saying that for the sake of the record. I think you already know that. If you were to tell me that I would be here tonight discussing a new tax as a borough manager, I would tell you were crazy. That'll never happen. Yet here we are. And so I think we're here tonight because I do think we have agreement in the community that we have a roads problem and that roads are a priority. We hear it all the time. I would also back that up with some data supported by the election results from the last three voter ballot propositions related to road improvements. All three of those passed, generally speaking, by a 2-to-1 measure. So I think it's clear the community wants to see road development. And so what we're looking at, and I guess the question I would have tonight, and it really is for the public as a whole, is how do we want to fund those improvements? We've done 3 consecutive ballot propositions that had bond authorizations associated with them in the past 5 years, roughly. And so when we look at the financials of that, there are some challenges with continuing to sustain area-wide improvements through ballot propositions if we continue to sell debt. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that. Currently, we sell our bonds at 20 years. And so there were a couple of road projects that we constructed from TIP 21 last year. we'll be paying on those for the next 19 years. And so if those roads have needs in the next 15 years, we might be reinvesting in a road that we'll still have 5 more years of payment on from the last time we did an upgrade or a rehab. And I think that can be problematic. I think there is a place for bonds. I think there is a place for debt. I think the service life of whatever you're building is the key. And I don't know that roads have the same useful life that maybe a school does in terms of a building. Like if you do a roof replacement and you get 30 years, that seems to make a lot more sense in terms of what you would choose to bond. So what's proposed in the ordinance is an approach. Maybe it's not the approach. But the approach is basically to come up with a pay-as-you-go approach from a fuel tax instead of adding to property taxes, because that's what's happening right now. And so under this proposal, the RSAs would still continue to do maintenance and minor improvements. So it wouldn't fundamentally change the structure of the RSAs. They would still, have RSA mill rates. They would still have maintenance contracts. They could still do public construction and minor improvements. I don't see that changing in any way. What it would allow is some of these larger roads, say collectors and arterials, to benefit from an area-wide revenue source to construct. That's what we've been doing for years, all the way back. I think 2011 was probably when we started down this road, and then we haven't had a good rhythm at all because we've had a challenge trying to figure out how do you fund these propositions. And so the other piece is, and this is important, what we're talking about in this ordinance is a revenue source to fund the projects. This, because we don't have area-wide road powers, voters are still going to be involved in improving projects that are eligible for an area-wide source to fund them. So we would still have ballot propositions. I think what this proposal could do is generate income as we go on an annual basis, revenue, that would allow us to fund this, where you could either reduce or eliminate the need to sell bonds to complete the projects. So it wouldn't eliminate the ballot propositions in the future either, because we still, as a second-class borough, do not have area-wide road powers. So I want to go quickly to this chart that's before you. I want to talk a little bit about what it is and is not. And what I'll say is part of the timing of why I introduced this now is I wanted the budget to be over. Because this isn't about adding a revenue to the general fund that will just get apportioned out to support operations, hire staff, grow government. That is not the intent at all. So I wanted to get through the budget, demonstrate that we have a fiscally responsible budget that funds borough and school district operations. So this is not for supporting government operations or growing government. It also does not include aviation, marine, or home heating fuel. So those fuels would be exempt from this tax. It also is lower than the tax that is in Anchorage. So Anchorage tax is 10 cents a gallon. That's part of the rationale for why it's proposed at 7 cents a gallon, is to stay below that threshold and remain competitive. What the tax does do, as I've already talked about, is provides a revenue source for road improvements that's outside of property taxes. If it's set at 7 cents per gallon, it could generate up to or approximately $5 million annually. That is a projection because we don't have any data on how many gallons are sold out here in the valley at this point, because we've not been involved in that kind of having that kind of information in the past. Currently, there is no local fuel excise tax out here in the valley. So that's one of the other reasons for looking at it. One of the other things as well is this would collect revenues from visitors and tourists that come from outside the borough. As it stands now, when we sell bonds, it goes on property taxes. If you buy or you own or you rent, that's the source for that annual debt service. This would create a revenue source where we could actually leverage some of that from others that are using our roads, using these roads, and help generate revenue to support those improvements. So you could argue it does take some pressure off the mill rate by not selling additional debt to support roads. So if you can go to the next slide, Brenda. And I'm not going to dive into this too terribly deep tonight, but I wanted to kind of show our debt obligations over time, because 20 years really does cause you to be with something for a while. And so as it stands right now, I look at this chart at face value and go, great, it's trending downward. We're reducing our debt obligations over time. That's wonderful. The challenge is if you look under that area I've kind of shaded as number one, That education debt service right now, as it stands here over the next, say, 5 or 10 years, where that big bubble is currently involves a formula where the state's reimbursing 70% of that. As we are finding out this year, once the legislature approved the budget, is that's not happening in full this year. They actually reduced that allotment for us. The impact to us is $3.7 million this year, where they did not fully fund commitments from the past. It seems likely that's going to continue to some degree, and the state hasn't matched road bonds in years. So you look at that and go, we're not going to have the state support for education or roads that we've had in the past, at least in the foreseeable future, at least based on what we're seeing in terms of the revenue projections at the state level. The second piece to that, when I talk about that state reimbursement, if you walk that down, the borough's probably funding annually about, I'm going to use some approximate numbers for easy math. Easy math is about $15 million a year. So that's what's coming out of area-wide property tax dollars to fund annual debt service, and that's for schools, roads, and parks and recreation. So that's kind of our current funding level. If we were to do 2 more road propositions in the next 5 years, and the voters approved those, and when we went to sell debt, we could potentially be up at the $30 million level, and that would essentially double. So right now, a mill's about $15 million. So you literally could have, if you're at around 2 mills, you could have nearly 25% of your annual area-wide property taxes going to debt service, not actually funding operations, just paying off debt for 20 years. And so when I look at that, and when Shine and I kind of dived into this, I was like, somebody needs to say something, because that's not a very sustainable approach. And so if there are folks out there that are like, well, fuel's not the answer, I guess my question would be, well, what other revenue sources are palatable? Because at this point, this one, we've talked sales tax in the past. I know there are other options, and certainly if the assembly has questions, I would love to talk about that some more, about the trade-offs for the different revenues. But I think what's becoming clear is the current approach, if we want to sustain momentum and make these improvements, is probably not going to look like more bonds for the future. And so this ordinance does that. It provides an alternative way to fund these, and where we would still bring those project lists, as after approved by the assembly, to the ballot and let voters have their say. So that's the basics, I guess, of this ordinance. As I mentioned, it'll be on the public record for a month and a half. There is no rush. If the assembly wants more time than July 15th, that's perfectly reasonable. You could choose to postpone that. The reason we introduced it when we did, or that I did, is because the budget's over now, so we have that aside, and this does not impact that. This is all about how do we fund road projects and whatnot moving forward. This should give your advisory boards plenty of time to take a look at it and the public to provide comments so that there is a thoughtful discourse before you take any action. So with that said, I think that concludes my update for this evening. If you have some questions, or if you have some information points that you would find to be helpful, I would welcome that, and we'll get to work on it for you.
Okay, Assemblyperson Nowers, go ahead.
More of a comment than a question, but double check my math on this. 5 million is about a third of a mill. If we have to raise 5 million off the backs of property owners, that's a third of a mill, which is $130. So if we're able to raise that in another way, that's the equivalent of $130 not on somebody's property tax, potentially. Correct, ma'am?
I believe that is correct.
Okay.
I know I'm reluctant to do public math as well, because you don't want to get it wrong and
Yeah,
put it
yeah.
on the record, but I believe that's correct. And the other thing that too, and I think the reason fuel's connected to roads is there seems to be somewhat of a connection there, right? Because predominantly it's going to be vehicles or vehicle traffic and usage on roads. But the reality is we have school deferred maintenance needs. We just passed, the voters just passed a bond for schools, but it was for new construction. We still have deferred maintenance needs that are going to be needed into the future. And it's been 14 years since the last proposition for school deferred maintenance. So at some point, that's coming due. And so I look at this as a way to, and I know we've heard this before, talked about diversifying, revenue sources for many, many years now. And I'm just looking at this, and this seems like a more natural connection, fuel to roads. and roads have a shorter service life than schools. So this makes more sense that you would choose not to bond roads than schools. That's the general philosophy behind it.
Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Would there be an exemption for off-highway diesel for heavy equipment?
Yeah, that's one of the things we need to talk about. Part of this too is we want to find a tax that's easy to administer. I mean, the goal is not to go out and have to create, another 5 positions in finance to be able to just simply administer the tax. When you look at a sales tax, it affects point of sales. Like this would be collected from the wholesalers. I believe there's approximately 14 of them. And so this wouldn't be something where we're literally collecting at the pump. I mean, it would obviously trickle down from the wholesalers, but the idea is administratively, this is a much easier tax to administer. Now, having said that, that's probably not going to give us the complete fidelity that we might like to have in terms of what gets exempted. For example, if somebody goes down to the gas station with a 5-gallon can for their lawnmower, I don't see that being exempted. I mean, right? So it's not going to be pure vehicles. So the off-road piece, I think, is something we're going to have to look at. I think federally there's a way to do that. The question is, are we going to be able to do that through the way we would choose to administer this, where it's not overly burdensome? So we will do a little bit more work and follow up with you on that, or follow up with the assembly on that.
Assemblyperson Gamble, go ahead.
Mike, also, could you talk about sharing the burden? That Mitsu Borough residents aren't the only ones using the roads.
Yeah, so through the mayor to the assembly, Mr. Gamble's question there is, yeah, we right now, I mean, and it's even true for Parks and Rec. I mean, people that come out here and recreate because we have an awesome place to recreate and we have some great facilities out here. Those fees for the most part, I mean, there are some use fees. That is not true for roads, of course. But those folks come out, make use of those things. But the funds that we're using to generate the taxes that are paying those bills are property taxes. They're not gleaning a lot from the people that visit and or tourists. And it's not about targeting that. It's just sharing the load so that it's not all getting stacked in one spot and creates something that's untenable 5 to 10 years from now.
Further questions of the assembly? Okay. Mike, did you want to note that the Deska land classification is going to be postponed until August 5th?
Yeah, that's correct. So thank you, Madam Mayor. The Deska land classification, that was a request from an assembly member. It's the presentation they made to the Fish and Wildlife Commission. We're postponing that till August 5th. That will allow the presenter to be in person. So that is still forthcoming.
Okay. Any further question? Oh, yes,
So-
Deputy Mayor.
You were saying that it was $130, so that'd be like 1,850 gallons of fuel.
Fuel at what, $4 a gallon?
No, 7 cents a gallon,
Oh, 7 cents a gallon.
right? 1,850 gallons.
I don't buy my gas for 7 cents a gallon. What gas are you talking
That's
about?
what you're paying for the excise tax to raise.
Oh,
that 30
the extra 7 cents. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just think of it as $130 would be like 30 gallons of gas. So, right? 30 times, well, all right. Let's just not do math. I get your 7 cents. I guess I'm just looking at, I'm already starting down the road of thinking about this. And if we take $130 out of somebody's pocket for housing, but they're paying it back in the gas tax. So I guess you're doing the same math with 1,800 gallons.
I was just seeing what an average family would have to, shell out in fuel, how many gallons to make up that.
And if I may, Madam Mayor?
Oh, Assemblyperson Sumner?
Oh, Mr. Bernier, I actually did some rough math on that. The average American drives 15,000 miles a year. If they have a car that averages 20 miles per gallon, they would burn 750 gallons. At 7 cents a gallon, it would cost the average person $52.50 to drive that 15,000 miles a year with this excise tax. On the flip side is if you own a property that's the average value, as Ms. Nowers was saying, you would be saving $130 on your property tax. Whereas everyone that's driving 15,000 miles a year and filling up their cars in the Matsu borough would be paying that $52.50.
So would we see any reduction in property tax, or was this just a way to make money for the roads?
Happy to, is that okay, Madam Mayor?
sure.
Yeah, so through the mayor to Mr. Bernier, great question. That's up to you. Because that's why I did not sell the proposal as this will reduce the mill rate, because it's going to depend on what the assembly chooses to do. What I would say is it takes pressure off of debt service, which is currently funded by the area-wide mill rate. So I would argue it could, but you also keep in mind right now, we don't have any mechanism, like we have over 300 miles of unmaintained road in the borough. And I know that there's assembly desire to start resolving that. We do not have a fund source to do that. And so if we can't develop one, odds are we're probably not going to chip away at that problem anytime soon. And so it's going to depend on what the assembly chooses to do with that. I had the question from a member of the public who called me today and said, well, you can't dedicate a tax. And the attorney will tell you that. I said, what I can do while I'm here, and I think what is the intent is that what we would do when we propose a budget is we would take this revenue source and put it into a project account in the budget for you to consider so that it doesn't just go into the general fund to fund government operations. That would be the intent. But obviously, and Nick will repeat it, it's always up to the assembly. So I can't make that promise because I don't get a vote and it's not up to me. But I think it does take pressure off of the area-wide mill rate, because you're not going to continue to stack annual debt service payments over 20 years on top of that.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments by the assembly? Okay, I guess not. Thank you, sir. Mr. Attorney, report, sir. I'm glad you're going to be here with us another
Yep,
year.
thank you for the earlier
Oh,
meeting. Look forward to
Yeah.
the next year.
Yeah.
No report tonight. Everything Mike said that I would say, I agree with.
Madam Clerk.
The clerk's report with the upcoming meeting schedule is in your red folder. It also has a quasi judicial report. And also, I will be out of the office June 18th through the 25th, excuse me.
Okay, questions to the clerk? Okay, alrighty. The next item on our agenda is citizens and other correspondence. Do any of you have any comments on the citizens and other correspondence? Okay, hearing none, then they are presented. Madam Clerk, the IMs, please.
I am 25-132, informing the Assembly of a grant amendment for time extension only to be presented to the Borough Manager for signature for Necklace Lake and Birch Creek Fish Passage improvements. With I am 25-134, informing the Assembly of the intent of administration to sign an amendment to the Alaska State Forestry Grant to extend the time for the Borough crew of Sawyers to construct shaded fuel breaks on Borough-owned land.
Okay, are there any comments on the IMs? Okay, hearing none, then they are presented. The next item we have is audience participation. Looks like we must have a sign-up sheet, and so we will call on the people first that have signed up, and then we will open it up to the others that are present here, as well as those that are online. And so we have Miriam Charles.
Good evening. My name is Marion Charles, and I'm a resident of Willow. I'd like to report on some of the exciting things that are happening at the Willow Library, some that are currently and some that are in the past. First, the summer reading program begins this week, excuse me, and takes place every Thursday through June and July. It will serve youth through age 18. Reading, crafts, games, and many other activities are planned. Kids Cupboard provides lunch at 12:30, and the program follows. Last year, The program served over 70 youth in the Willow area. On May 24th, our 9th annual 5K run and walk was held. 40 participants supported the library and followed the bike path from the library almost to Willow Creek and back. It was great to see many young families, mature walkers, and youthful joggers. We were also fortunate to have Ewan Ivy, a Matsu author, visit us in mid-May. She shared thoughts on her newest book, Black Woods, Blue Sky, shortly before she left for a book tour in France. Miss Ivy has such a gracious manner in sharing her research and writing practices. The 20 book lovers who gathered there had many questions for her. Coming in June, the middle of June, Talkeetna author Sarah Birdsall will be presenting. This summer, there's an Alaskan Summer Fun photo contest being held with entries, 8 by 10 photographs accepted through June 26th. There will be an adult and youth division. The Willow Summer Trails Challenge, a partnership between the Willow Library and the Willow Trails Committee, started on May 16th, pardon me, and will continue through mid-September. Participants pick up a passport from the library describing 14 local trails. Hikers document their time on the trail by taking a selfie with a sign posted and then return to the library to get a stamp. A gathering will be held for prizes and a celebration of trails well traveled. A copy of the passport is available for you, and I invite you to visit the Willow Library and our trails. I hope this brief snapshot of happenings at our library shows you that there are a wide variety of activities that encourage all ages to be involved with books, art, physical exercise, plus many opportunities to socialize. The Willow Library is an important and very positive hub of our community. Thanks to our librarian, Julie Mitchell, and the rest of our great staff who continually work to provide these worthwhile programs for the Willow community. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have passports.
Melinda Dale? Do you think that's what that is?
I think it's Melinda Dale.
Melinda Dale? No, thank you.
I'm Melinda Dale. I live in Willow, and I am here to thank you for funding our borough libraries. I happily pay property taxes. I love the library. I love our librarian. We had the most fun National Library Week. We had a graphic novel drawing. We had a bird come and visit. We did staff appreciation that week. We watched the movie Free for All. If you haven't seen it, it's fabulous, about the history of libraries in our country. Very interesting movie. So libraries make a difference, and in small communities, they really make a difference. And I am so thankful that we have a library in Willow where people can go to be warm, to be safe, to use computers, to attend programs and classes, to sit by the fireplace, work on a puzzle, read a good book. And our librarian is fantastic. She never says no. She's there to help us get our book club going. She's there during National Library Week helping with drawings. She's there with summer reading program, and absolutely a wonderful asset. So thank you very much. Happy to be a borough resident and happy that you support our libraries. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jeannie
Trushinsky.
Shulinsky, here she comes. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Assembly. Jeannie Troshinsky. 3 syllables. I am the president of the Wasilla Public Library, and I'm just here tonight to talk about libraries. I actually don't live in the city limits of Wasilla. I live in the greater Wasilla area, and I have great appreciation for every single library in our valley. They provide such important resources to our community. We've had a lot of really great things going on at the Wasilla Public Library. April 19th, we had our third for the past year concert in the library. Each concert brought in about 150 people. It was really a great success. Josh Freifogel inspired us to do this. He said our library is built very acoustically great for a concert, and it really is amazing how wonderful music is in that library. We, on May 6th, partnered with the Matsu Jewish Center, My House, 907 Reach, the Matsu Health Foundation, and we had an evening with a rabbi who's an author from New York, and of course I can't remember his name right now, but it was just really a wonderful community event. We had 100 people there, all a huge cross-section of folks from across the valley. It was really a wonderful, wonderful evening, which is a big part of what libraries are all about, are bringing the community together. We just finished last night our book club for this year, our Firelight Book Club, and so this Thursday we'll choose the books for next year. Summer reading started yesterday. The last 2 years we've had about 750 participants. About 550 of those are kids. That's, as you would suspect, the main participants. But we also do offer opportunities for adults to complete a reading challenge and win prizes. One of our favorite prizes is 3 years ago, we instituted the Burt Cottle Memorial Grand Prize Summer Reading Bikes for Burt. And working with Alaska Bicycle Center and our sponsors, we provide 6 bikes that kids can enter to win. These are not bikes like you would get at your local box store. These are very nice bikes. And it has been just really heartwarming to see what it means to these kids to win these bikes. One family told us that they had just moved to the valley and they had to leave the bikes behind, and that was one of the hardest things to leave behind, and to win that bike just meant the world to them. So we just continue to support our community, and we love our library, and we want you to know how much our library is really loved. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Rod Hanson?
Excuse me. Good evening, Madam Mayor and Assembly. I'm Rod Hanson with the North Lakes Community Council. The state of Alaska is preparing to sell off about a 12-acre piece of public property at the east end of Wolf Lake. And their vision is to subdivide that property into essentially like 1-acre residential lots. The property used to be managed by the state parks as a community park, and there were picnic tables and fire rings, public restrooms, etc. This was years ago, though, and I'm not sure exactly what happened, but the state stripped basically all the amenities out of there, and the land's been managed, if you will, by DNR. It is still regularly accessed by area residents, and if you think about that area, it's seen pretty significant growth in terms of development around the Wolf Lake, both on the north side and the south side of Wolf Lake. The North Lakes Community Council is working on a proposal to have a portion of that property sold off to the entity that owns and manages the Wolf Lake Airport. And they have a vision of getting some float plane slips installed in that area. There's kind of a high demand for that. But we're hoping the remaining 5 or 6 acres of the land on the eastern end of that state property could be transferred to the borough, and then in partnership with the North Lakes Council, as well as the Fishhook Community Councils, developed into a well-managed day use community park, consistent with the community values, consistent with aviation, and consistent with the lake management plan there at Wolf Lake. We are on the agenda at the next Parks, Recreation, and Trails Advisory Board on June 23rd. We did reach out to Manager Brown and to the Mr. Metzler, the borough land manager. They saw a possibility and are willing to investigate it a little further. And so the development of a park would primarily benefit, the residents in that area. If you think about the two councils, North Lakes council boundaries extend right up to the south side of this particular piece of property. That is in Assembly District 6. And then just across the property line there is the Fishhook Community Council area in Assembly District 1. And so my ask tonight is that the Assembly offer a motion this evening, if possible, in your agenda, requesting that the borough manager take the opportunity to look into this, do some fact-finding, and look at what opportunity for public-private partnership there might be, and then report back to the borough. And so thank you.
Thank you. Travis? Yeah, turn it on. There, green is good. Yeah. There you go, sir.
All right. Hello, my name is Travis. I live in Palmer. Some time ago, I did some research on the Palmer hay flats, and it was once designated for growing hay, and then the 1964 earthquake happened, and then it became a wetland, and now it's been designated as a protected marshland. And also, I saw some land that was for sale, and then it was on marshland too, in that same area. And I looked into a law that says that you cannot desecrate wetland, even if it's on your property. You can't do that. So, I mean, if I was to own that piece of land, I should have every right to do what I see fit. And since the earthquake was a freak of nature that decimated the landscape, I think it's about time that we need to reconsider the designation of the hay flats. An idea that popped up is that we could turn that into farmland again, just as it was before the earthquake. We could utilize some of the techniques that the Netherlands have used how they were able to build to drain out the water out of the land and plant crops and then burn them so that it would nourish the soil. So I think that it could
Close the door, please.
Hey, Dee, we can hear you. You might want to press star 2.
I just thought you might be able to. I just better look at the two. Thank you. I'm off now, I hope.
Sorry, Travis, go ahead.
Anyway, now back to my idea is that, because we had this let's say that there was some farmland and then an earthquake happened and then it's been all flooded, and then now the government has designated as a protected marshland, but it was on my property, and I didn't have no control over it. So I think we need to revive the Palmer hay flats to grow hay or barley, oats, wheat, and whatnot. I think we could imitate some of the techniques that the Netherlands did when they were fighting water and swampland. So just a thought. Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Mary?
Good evening. My name is Mary Robinson, Robinson. I am a Matsu Borough resident. I do not attend King's Chapel, and I do not attend Apostolic Worship Center, and I represent myself. My reputation is that I'm helpful but bossy, so I would like to do a little housekeeping here. On page 3, of the agenda, 25-094, under 7 Library Board. Just to clarify, it has 6 meetings, all written into the record under 23. Should that perhaps be 2024? And if I'm wrong, I apologize. And under 8, the Library Citizens Advisory Committee, I would like to address the fact that first, there's 2 District 5 members, and one of the District 5 members has only attended 1 of 12 scheduled meetings. I've met the gentleman. He's very nice, and I have nothing against him, but according to Borough Code, a vacancy occurs on the board when the member is absent from 3 consecutive regular board meetings without the board excusing the absence for good cause. And I could see how it's a little confusing having 2 District 5, because of course we all remember how District 7 member Bernier tied himself into knots to appoint his pastor to District 5 seats, and saying that the 13 members from his district that had applied didn't believe in God, even though there's no religious qualification for any of these boards, committees, and commissions. So just something to mention there for housekeeping. I've never been to North Dakota. I'm going to kind of bing, bing, bing all over the place here, so bear with me. Never been to North Dakota, but I imagine there's quite a few similarities between North Dakota and Alaska. Solidly Republican, population under 1 million people. And I would like to give this to you after I speak, but I'm just going to read a few highlights from the Office of the Governor, North Dakota, Kelly Armstrong. Dear Senate President, I have vetoed Senate Bill 2307 that aims to regulate access to materials deemed explicit sexual material in public and school libraries. I believe it represents a misguided attempt to legislate morality through overreach and censorship. The bill imposes vague and punitive burdens on professionals and opens the door to a host of unintended and damaging consequences for our communities. And then he goes on to give a little bit of the background about what led to this. And then in closing, he says, and it won't be just the books cited as examples by the supporters of this bill that will be affected. In the last 10 years, he goes on to say, in today's world of social media, streaming services, websites, cable TV, and movies, where profanity, drug use, violence, and nudity are harder to avoid than to find, the amount of time, money, and taxpayer resources spent on where a book is placed in a library would be better used elsewhere. Sincerely, Kelly Armstrong, Governor of North Dakota. Thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Robertson, R-O-B-E-R, no T, S-O-N. And I want to forewarn you tonight that I'll be approaching the school district to eliminate all voting booths within the school district. Elementary schools, high school, everything. Our legislature has passed some time ago that convicted felons can vote. You don't know who they are. And even if you do know, you can't tell them no, they can't vote. You can't pick and choose who can vote and who can't. I've been in the prison ministry for 40 years, about the same time as I've been in election committees and volunteers. And it's a safer thing to do just to keep all voting booths away from the school district. I was working last year when I was voting. I chaired the voting booth in Butte Elementary, and we had this discussion with the principal there. And since you can't tell who the convicted felons are, you just can't take a chance. They do have a sex offender list. The problem is that's not accurate. There's people on the sex offender list who don't even belong there, but there are people who need to be on there, and they're not on there. You cannot go that way. You cannot take a chance on having these sex offenders or even convicted felons on the school property. Now, so what do you do with the voters? There's plenty of churches and the fire department. Now, the fire department's going to scream bloody murder. They're going to say, no, we can't do this. Well, they can. When I was in the fire department, I would have to sit in a truck out in front all day long to tell people they cannot park in front of the truck bay doors. They got to go park somewhere else. That happens every election time. And the other thing, the fire departments have not made their plans for parking lot very big, but they can learn to get by. And even in the voting bay, they call it the apparatus bay, they can pull the trucks forward and you can have people voting in the back. In the apparatus bay, there's plenty of room in the fire department to do that. The one thing that was great about it in the fire department, we liked having voters come into fire station. We wanted the voters to see, hey, we need a new station because the roof has been leaking for all of us or the floor is rotting. And it did happen. And we want a new fire truck because whatever reason, or a new ambulance. And the people are glad to vote when they see what you're talking about. They're more than willing to do that. You want the voters in to show off the equipment you got. This is the only place I've seen that doesn't want voters in. And they're biting the hand that feeds them. You need to have a safe place for voters to go. The school district is, well, let's put it this way. The fire departments say they're public safety, and by God, they need to be public safety. They need to step up to plate and assume the role and be the safety net for all the voters in the school district. Any question?
Thanks,
Thank you.
Tom.
See you next one.
Jackie?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Assembly. My name is Jackie Goforth. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. There are people in this room and people on the library board that will tell you that there's no porn in any library. And let's put one thing on the table. Porn is synonymous with obscenity. It's the same thing. One is in media form, they're different media forms. Let's also get it on record that there is a law against distributing obscenity to a minor. It's the Alaska Statute 11.61.128. Now, there was a settlement from the Mat-Su School Board. 56 books were taken out. 49 were returned back. Under the settlement, 7 books will remain permanently off the district library shelves, officials said. The 7 removed books are Call Me By Your Name, You, a novel by Carolyn Kepnes, It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, Verity by Colleen Hoover, Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah Moss, and Court of Silver Flames by Sarah Moss. I'm reading those titles aloud so that parents and anyone listening will hear. I've been accused of being the instigator of these books being more popular and that they are being checked out more at the libraries. And when I ask the librarian if she's checking them out to minors, the answer has always been twice now, of course not. Of course not. What does that tell you? It tells you that there could be a problem with them. And I'm grateful that they're checking them out to parents because that's the idea. The idea is that parents get to make the call on what their children read, not the librarians. And nobody says anything about how this is an attack about libraries or against libraries. It's not. There's about 8 to 15 books that are real problems. And for some reason, the castle walls have come up and the flaming arrows are coming. And I've had boiling oil poured on me for 2 years now, just because of these 8 to 15 books. Now, the reason why these 7 books are out and not sent back, you ready? Because the votes were, Call Me By Your Name, 9-0. 9. It was a violation of the law. This committee at the school borough was 11 members, and it included school district employees. You, 9-0. It Ends With Us, 8-0. Ugly Love, 11-0. Verity, 10-0. Court of Mist and Fury, 9-1. Court of Silver Flames, 10-1. What that means is this committee found those books to be illegal based on the Miller test in AS 11.61.128. They found that it is a violation to distribute these books to minors in the Mat-Su Valley, and therefore there are obscene books in the libraries. I didn't make this up. It's a fact. There are obscene books in the libraries, and if anybody tells you different, it's disingenuous at best. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike? Yep.
Good evening, Mayor DeVries, Assembly members. My name is Michael Bowles. Last name is spelled Bowles. So I'm here as a private citizen representing myself. I'm not representing an organization or anything else. So I came this evening to speak on the proposed 7 cents tax. On the way in, I was listening to Borough Manager Brown speak, and he answered a couple of questions that I have. So I would like to speak on a couple of things, and I'm of the opinion that if you've got a concern or a complaint, you should bring a solution. I appreciate all of your work. I'm a fellow government employee in a different capacity. What we do is not easy work. It's mundane sometimes, but you got to figure out problems, and I understand that. So this tax, in my opinion, would not be a very good thing. We see what's happening in Anchorage. They've taken the 10 cents and they speak about the intent in Anchorage. They spoke about the intent, but what we see now is that they're not using the money for what it was intended for. And that would eventually happen here. Eventually, you're all going to move on. I hope to eventually sit in one of your seats, and eventually I'm going to move on if I do. And that tax will still be in place. And then there will be another tax, because once that tax is moved on to something else that it's not intended for, the people behind you will come in and propose another tax. I don't think that's the answer. I think you need to look forward. I think you need to look at fiscal responsibility. Look at Glen Farn. Look at what's happening federally and at the state level. There's an LNG project that's coming. That's going to be coming right through the borough. Pump the brakes on the 7 cents tax and wait. You guys, the borough can utilize that to bring in a lot of revenue if they do it smartly. Second thing I'd like to speak on is the ordinance number 25-046. I applaud your efforts. I think the Assembly is right on this issue. I think that this is exactly what the Assembly should be doing. Amending code already in place in an effort to protect private property against infringement, as well as ensuring public safety, is noble and greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Okay. Helen? Vincent?
Hello, my name is Helen Vincent. I live in Palmer. I've been here for 15 years. I was born and raised in Alaska. Imagine a world where ideas are locked away, where stories are silenced, and where learning is limited by someone else's judgment. That's the world we move toward when we ban books. Books are more than just pages and ink. They are windows into different lives, cultures, and perspectives. They challenge us to think critically, feel empathy, and to understand the complexity of the world around us. When we ban books, we aren't just removing stories, we're removing opportunities for growth. Often books are banned because they deal with difficult or controversial topics, but those are the exact stories we need when they reflect real issues, racism, identity, mental health, and injustice, and help us talk about them in a meaningful way. Shielding our young people from reality doesn't protect them, it leaves them unprepared. Freedom of expression is a cornerstone of a healthy democratic society. If we start banning books because they make us uncomfortable, where do we draw the line? Who gets to decide what is unacceptable? That's a dangerous path. Instead of banning books, we should be encouraging discussions. We should read with curiosity, talk with respect, and learn with open minds. So let's not fear books. Let's embrace them. The power and transformative ideas that they carry. Thank you. There is a long history, if you go back, of people and societies that have banned books, from the Library of Alexandria to China, and burning books, burning material. It's never been a good outcome for our society. Parents have the ability to monitor what kids check out. That is their right. Once you get to a point where you can check out your own books, that's fine. We have a huge teen homeless problem a huge homeless problem out in the valley. A lot of books deal with risk behaviors that kids and or families get into, and this would just, reading books allows them to have a point of contact, a point of reference to be able to get out of some situations, or like The Little Mermaid, being able to escape. Anyway, banning books has never been a good thing. We have librarians for a reason. They are strong, they are educated, and they will help our communities become informed and also protect from other dangers that are out there. Libraries are a safe haven for a lot of people. Thank you.
Okay, that finishes the people that had signed up. Is there anyone else that's here that would like to address the assembly on any subject? It can be something on the agenda. Yes, just come forward, sir, and state your name and what you would like to say.
Thank you for allowing me to come up, Mayor. My name's Artie. I actually came here to talk about a different topic later, about the Selden Bogard Road project. But given all the library conversation today has really struck me up with something from a childhood memory that I wanted to bring up. I was born here in Palmer, 1996. And from what I understand, which is very limited, the topic's about adult content in books. My struggle as a youth when I was 10 years old is I saw Sports Illustrated magazine with a swimsuit edition on it. And that sparked my desire to start a pornography addiction. It was kind of like a slippery slope that went into that. I'm not going to say that that's the only thing that I've ever seen that would ever start that, but my kids now, I have a 3 and a 1-year-old, if those magazines can be out completely, the books are fine. The magazines with covers right there, I think that's a very simple request that if you really want to read Sports Illustrated, you can go online and probably find it free there. That's all I wanted to share today about that topic. I'll be back later.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thanks, Artie. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly? Okay, and we have some people online. Go ahead, the first person online, please.
Hello, my name is Ruth Wood. I live in Talkeetna, and I occasionally testify, but I am calling in to talk about libraries and books. And we have I'm sorry, is somebody talking to me?
No.
There were some voices coming out over my phone. I don't know what it was.
I don't know. We do have one.
Anyway.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I love the Talkeetna Library. I was able to tell the mayor that when she was visiting us in Talkeetna. And I know a lot of you do come to Talkeetna in the summer. Go to our library. Introduce yourself to our librarians. They are such wonderful people, and they work with our community to give us things we need. We have children's reading programs. We have adult reading programs. They let us have our community council meetings there, and they let other nonprofits meet there because they don't charge you to use their community room. So our library is a library and so much more. But I love books. I'm in a book club. I'm actually in 2 book clubs, and the library has their own book club. I think that as adults, we should be able to find the books we want to read in our library. I think there are many ways to control what children get in a library. And the way the borough is going about it is not very good. And I've now heard there's going to be a new policy that a library advisory board will have to review all materials before they go into borough libraries. Well, is that the library board, the challenged book advisory board, or a whole new board? It's just ridiculous. I mean, we need something in place so that if someone wants to challenge a book, it can be challenged responsibly. And I think the borough is trying to do that, but I'm very concerned that people who want to ban books and they pull out these things that say it's profanity or things like that, and that's often not the case. I mean, they'll read a passage and say that proves it's profanity. But I can pull out a passage in the Bible and say it's profanity. So some of these books are really, really, really important. And our libraries try to work with our communities. They work really hard. Our librarians, they're wonderful people. And it's really up to the borough to make sure our libraries continue to serve the people who live here, not the people who have another addiction that just come up to visit. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person online, please.
Hi, my name is John Strassenberg, and I'm testifying tonight in support of our libraries. I live in Talkeetna, and I'm, of course, most familiar with the Talkeetna Library. Our library enriches our community. There's varied programs for all age levels. Kids, for example, Lunch on the Lawn program. Teens, the Teen Summer Reading Program. Adults. It's a local venue for authors to discuss their recently released books. There's exercise programs. There's the Breakfast Book Club. There's notary services. It's a meeting venue. The list goes on. I just want to say that in summary, I support the way our libraries are operated and managed, and most of all, I support the librarians. They're very capable, and they do an exemplary job. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person online, please.
Yes, hello. My name is Andrew Drake, and I'm calling to support the libraries as well. I'm a member of the Big Lake Advocates for the Big Lake Public Library, and I just wanted to call in and talk about some of the cool, exciting things that are going to be happening this summer. The Big Lake Library has just started their summer reading program, which is awesome. The first day they had it, 52 kids signed up. Now they've had it open for 2 days, and more than 100 kids have signed up for this thing, my son included, which is awesome. Real soon, I think tomorrow, they have Chainsaw Tom coming out to perform or carve some wood in front of all these children, which is going to be awesome. They're doing a bunch of different programs, coffee and conversations, and different book talks with authors showing up as well. And, I just wanted to make it known that the library has a whole lot of really cool, positive events that are occurring, and I'd like to have us as a community continue to support them as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else online? No. Okay. So one last chance for anybody here that hasn't had a chance to address the assembly. Okay, seeing no one, then I will close audience participation. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25044, an ordinance approving an appropriation of $1,718,174.66 from the Enhanced 911 fund balance to a project to allow the city of Wasilla to obtain reimbursement from the Enhanced 911 surcharge funding for a Vesta 911 telephone system with accompanying resolution 25036, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for a project to allow the city of Wasilla to obtain reimbursement from the Enhanced 911 surcharge funding for a Vesta 911 telephone system. If you're on the phone and want to speak to this, press *3.
Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a quick staff report. So this appropriation pulls money out of the E911 funds that the borough collects to support upgrades for the dispatch center in Wasilla. You'll also see in our introductions, there'll be some money forthcoming for Palmer. This is all in support of a dispatch center that has regional benefits, upgrades us to modern equipment, and gets us off the system where we've had problems here in the recent past. And so the borough staff, the E91 Advisory Board have all reviewed this and recommend approval. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Do we have we do not have a sign-up sheet? Okay. So anyone that would like to address the assembly at this time, and let's see, Dee, could you mute your phone, please, or whoever?
Yeah, I did. Don't I hit 2? Isn't that how you do it?
You have to hit *2.
Oh, *2. That's why. Okay, sorry
And
about
then
that.
hit
Thank you.
*2 again when you want to talk, okay, Assemblymember McKee?
I will do it. I didn't know about the star part. Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, with the public hearing, your testimony is restricted to this ordinance 25-044 or resolution 25-036. So since we don't have a sign-up sheet, anyone is welcome to address the assembly. Okay, do we have anybody online, sir? We do not. Okay, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing, and Assemblyperson Nowers? Oh, I'm on the wrong line?
Wrong city.
Oh, Sumner, okay. Yeah, I'm on the wrong line.
I move to adopt
Sorry, sir.
ordinance 25-044 and resolution 25-036.
Thank you. Discussion by the Assembly. Yes, Assemblyperson.
Yeah, just a
Campbell.
couple questions for the manager. I noticed that the system and it's had multiple failures and the contract's set to expire in October. Is the new Vestra system going to be installed by the time this one expires?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Gamble, we do have folks from the city of Wasilla that can speak. I believe we're on a timeline to get the procurement. That's why we're wanting to move these appropriations forward so that they can have that in place when the contract expires in October.
Okay, and that's another thing I noticed that the 911 board approved it in February, but it's just coming before us in June.
Yeah, so through the mayor to Mr. Gamble, the reason for the delay there is there were two separate requests from the cities, City of Palmer, City of Wasilla. They were both for standalone systems. And so we asked that they go back and take a look and have a conversation about a more regional solution. And so we are through that. It didn't really alter Wasilla's request, but it did alter the Palmer request. So what's being introduced tonight, you'll actually see an amendment to reduce the cost for that because they will be a remote off of MACCOM out of Wasilla. So the argument was, we want that diversity in the system. We want that resiliency, but at the same time, it needs to be regional in nature and not separate standalone systems.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? Okay, seeing and hearing none, the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25046, an ordinance amending MSB 1760 conditional uses to include permit requirements and standards for homeless shelters. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Okay. Staff report, please. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members
ahead,
of the
sir.
Assembly. I'm Alex Strawn, Matsu Borough Planning Director. This ordinance was prepared by the Planning Department, but at the request of Assemblymember Sumner. And it creates a conditional use permit process for homeless shelters, new homeless shelters that'll go into the borough. We don't have traditional zoning within the borough, so one of the standards, so it has a whole list of standards that are approved by the Planning Commission. So one of the things that they must find when determining whether homeless shelters should go in or not, or is whether the use is appropriate for where it's going. So they sort of make that judgment call. It has setback distances from some sensitive areas that might not be compatible with a homeless shelter, like alcohol-related facilities and schools. There's parking requirements, security requirements, landscaping, fencing, just to sort of set standards for some of the impacts that might be associated with a homeless shelter. The Planning Commission did review this and they recommended approval unanimously. So I'll answer any questions you have.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
How many current existing homeless shelters are located in the borough?
Go ahead, sir.
It's a great question. I do not have the answer for that. I don't know of any that we have right now. This is in anticipation of potentially getting new ones coming to the valley.
Assemblyperson Hale, go ahead.
Is there a provision for non-conforming uses in case there is homeless shelters that we're unaware of?
Yeah, so this, through the
Go
mayor,
ahead.
so this goes into 17.60, which is tied in with marijuana facilities, junkyards, other different conditional uses. So a lot of that groundwork is already in place by placing it in this chapter.
Okay. Further questions of staff? Okay, guess that's, thank you, sir. So we'll go ahead, and we do have a sign-up sheet, but there will be opportunity for people to testify even if you didn't sign up. So I'm going to open the public hearing on ordinance 25-046. And Rod again?
This will be short and sweet. I'm Rod Hansen with North Lakes, and we strongly support what's on your plate here. So we support approval. I do think there was a good job here with regard to the way that some of the definitions, for example, how far a school property needs to be away from a facility, and a good description of what that means in terms of like a pedestrian route. I wish that the same language applied to the marijuana, the small marijuana grow operations, but we strongly support approval of the ordinance. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Michelle?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Borough Assembly. I'm Michelle Overstreet. I'm the founder and CEO at My House. I started this homeless drop-in center 14 years ago, and we do not run a homeless shelter. I've visited a dozen different cities: Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., New York, where I visited homeless shelters when I was putting together the My House model, and there's nowhere in the country that they work. Any city that you go to that has a homeless shelter has a homeless problem. And the magic is exit strategies. If you have a shelter, you never have enough beds. Just like Anchorage, the practice becomes we need more beds, we have more homeless, we need more money because we get paid for the number of homeless that we have, and people become a commodity. And we've done a really great job in the Valley of managing homeless systems, offering exit strategies, job training, services that are behavioral health and substance abuse related to help people exit homelessness and become productive, or find a path that helps them be cared for. Somebody talked earlier about FAS and FASD. There are ways that people can be cared for without a shelter, and we should not have shelters. They're cruel. If you've been to one, that's heartbreaking. So thank you for this measure, and I would advocate that you approve this. On some of the addendums, and thank you, Representative Sunwinter, for sending those to me. I would back away from the fences around the drug and alcohol centers. I think that increases the stigma, and what we've been trying to do is reduce the stigma and make recovery part of our community, make it so that people who are trying to seek recovery have less stigma. And if you visited the campuses for Set Free Alaska or True North Recovery or Nugent's Ranch, which is now called ARRC, they're clean, they're nice. They don't need a regulation that they have a fence around to be able to be functioning and proud in our community. And if we can keep the stigma down, it increases the likelihood that people will go there and feel good about what they're doing and their recovery. Does anyone have any questions? No. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thanks, Michelle. So that is the people that we had signed up. Is there anybody else that would like to give input to the assembly on ordinance 25-046?
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Assembly. My name is Jackie Goforth, and I wasn't going to speak, but I was the station manager at the Eastchester Station in Anchorage. And I don't know if you know where that is. It's by the bases. It's 99501. Okay? That's where Beans Cafe is and other shelters, and the methadone clinic, etc. And I would like you to know that anywhere a shelter is, that's the prime area that there's an issue. I don't know why. I don't know how much it took, but we always had issues around wherever there was a shelter. So you need to take that into account when if we do a shelter, that everybody around it would need to have some input, because I saw the issues with it. I had mail carriers who would have issues with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the Assembly on ordinance 25-046? Okay, do we have anybody in line? We do not, sir. One last chance. Okay, I will go ahead and close the public hearing, and Assemblyperson Sumner.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-046, if I can speak to it.
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I myself personally have a little bit of history with homeless shelters. Not that I've been in served by a homeless shelter, but in college I did data collection for grant writing for homeless shelters and food banks and soup kitchens and the like. And one thing that really stuck out at me, and the data supports it, is that it's a complicated issue. A lot of people do not choose to be homeless. They do so because there's other factors, mental issues, drug or alcohol abuse issues. One thing that also, I'm glad Michelle came today and spoke. One thing that's also been proven clear is that just providing housing is not the solution. The solution is attacking the causes. You don't have to look very far away to see an assembly and a municipality that has done a really terrible job of dealing with homelessness. It's all over the newspaper. So this is something that I wanted to attack before it became an issue in our community. This ordinance, obviously there are impacts if you have a homeless shelter near your near your neighborhood or near your house. So we want to mitigate those impacts, without making it so that no nonprofit could ever build one. Obviously, I would not support the assembly paying, the borough paying for one at this time. But with that said, we also have some amendments.
Okay.
I did want to give a shout out to Alex Strawn and Mark Weisenhunt, who's not here tonight, for putting together, drafting this original ordinance. I'm really glad, because of the Open Meetings Act, I couldn't confer with the rest of the assembly, but I'm really glad that some other assembly members came up with some other amendments to this, because we put together the framework, but I knew it needed work. I just wanted to get it in front of the assembly as soon as possible. And with that, I have an amendment.
Okay.
I move to amend ordinance 25-046 MSB 17.60.125B2A4 by inserting the word retail at the beginning of the sentence to read retail uses regulated under MSB 17.70.020. And I move to amend ordinance 25-046 MSB 17.60.125B by inserting the following. 11, runoff mitigation measures shall comply with the drainage plan standards outlined in MSB 17.73 multifamily development design standards.
Okay, can you give us a minute to?
So on the sheet that's in front of you guys, I did
Okay.
skip 2 because I want to deal with those separately.
Oh, okay, all right.
The middle 2,
Okay.
I skipped.
Thank you. All right. Okay. So we have an amendment number 1, discussion by the Assembly. Yes, Assemblyperson Hale, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious, what is the purpose of the word retail in that section there?
My intent was that, if, how do I phrase this politically? The impacts from a homeless population being next to a liquor store are a lot different than being next to a restaurant that serves, beer and wine.
Further discussion on the amendment number 1. Is there any objection to amendment number 1? Okay, hearing no objection, then number 1 has passed. Okay, Assemblyperson Gamble, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move to amend ordinance 25-046 as follows, if I may.
Okay. And are you going to do the whole in one?
Unless Lonnie would rather do it.
Okay, she's doing something, she's
Okay,
taking
I can
care
do
of
it.
some other business right
right.
now.
I can
so-
do it. I can do it.
Yeah,
I did, Assemblymember McKee is trying to get back on the phone, so I was texting her.
Okay, thank you.
Assemblymember Gamble, this one?
Yes.
Okay. Moves to amend 25046, insert a definition, section 2 to read outpatient opioid treatment facility means a healthcare facility whose primary service is providing outpatient medication assisted treatment for individuals with opioid use disorder. Section 3, add paragraph 7 to subsection A to read 7 outpatient opioid, apparently I have problems saying opioid treatment facility. Section 4, modify Section D to read, upon acceptance of the complete application for a homeless shelter or outpatient opioid treatment facility conditional use permit, the department shall notify surrounding property owners in accordance with MSB 1703 public notification, except that the notification area shall be 1/2 mile from the exterior of the boundary and property that is subject of the application. Section 5, modify Section 176125 to read 176125 standards for homeless shelters and outpatient opioid treatment facilities. Section 5, modify paragraph 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 6, and subsection B to read, findings in granting a conditional use permit, the planning commission must make the following findings. The proposed conditional use is located on a parcel that is appropriate for that use, and considering the factor of the commission shall consider at a minimum. 2, at the time the permit is issued, the conditional use shall meet the following requirements. A, homeless shelters and outpatient opioid treatment facilities shall not be located within 1,000 feet of school grounds, recreation or youth centers, child care facilities, and uses regulated under MSB 1770-020. B, separation distances referenced in subparagraph A of the section are measured in the direct line between the closest point of the lot or parcel within which the conditional use is located and the closest point of the lot or parcel of land upon which any of the above itemized uses are located. 3, the conditional use shall be set back at least 100 feet from public rights-of-way, site lot lines, and rear lot lines. 4, the minimum number of parking spaces for homeless shelters and outpatient opioid treatment facilities shall be 1 space per 350 square feet of net floor area. Each parking space shall be at least 20 feet in length, 10 feet wide, and have a vertical clearance of at least 7 feet. Parking spaces shall be provided to comply with current Americans with Disabilities Act guidelines. 6, the conditional use shall be screened by a continuous solid fence or earthen berms to reduce negative effects on adjacent properties.
Okay. Assemblyperson Gamble, do you want to speak to your amendment?
I do. First of all, I'd like to offer a secondary amendment and remove line 6 on the last page, referencing the solid fence or earthen berms. Can I do that, Lonnie?
Sure. Just remove the entirety of number 6.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. Is everybody there? So everything that the clerk read, except remove the last item on the second page. Everybody okay? Assemblypersons?
Yeah, actually, a point of clarification. So will we be removing all of line 6 from the main ordinance, or will we be removing it from just your amendment?
Just my amendment.
Oh, so just from the amendment. Okay,
That's
got
correct.
it.
So for clarification, that would mean that in the original ordinance, number 6, the homeless shelter shall be screened by continuous solid fence or earthen berm to reduce negative effects on adjacent properties would remain.
That's correct. Now, if I can,
Assemblyperson Gamble, did you have a comment?
yes, I would like
Yeah,
to speak
go ahead,
to
sir.
the amendment. First of all, I'd like to say that I don't want to block anybody that is seeking treatment or needs treatment from getting that treatment. I wholeheartedly believe that people that need help should get help. With that being said, what instigated this amendment was a couple months ago, without any notice and literally overnight, an opioid outpatient treatment facility opened up right in the heart of Big Lake, in a mall right across the street from a liquor store and a Three Bears, right down the street from an elementary school and the library, which angered a lot of people, and my phone blew up from this. So I know that we can't go back. The facilities that are already in place and that are in process are grandfathered, I believe. The attorney can correct me if I'm wrong. But going forward, I just want to make sure that for outpatient opioid treatment facilities, that there are guidelines and that there is a public process that's in place where people get notified that this is going to happen and they get a chance to put their 2 cents in. So thank you very much.
What'd you say? Go ahead.
I just wanted to make sure everybody knows we're on the secondary amendment, just to take number 6 out of the primary amendment,
Okay.
but leave it in the ordinance.
Sorry, Lonnie.
Okay. All right. So the debate is on removing item 6 from this amendment. Discussion on that. Okay. Is there any objection? Seeing no objection, then item number 6 has been removed, and now we have the primary amendment number 2, right? Back before us. Discussion on the amendment primary number 2. Oh, I'm sorry, sure. Assemblyperson Hale, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I appreciate the intent of this amendment, but I do have some pretty grave reservations about placing more hurdles in the face of opening these treatment centers. Like the speaker spoke earlier, that homeless shelters don't work, but opioid treatment centers do work, and they do. And I think maybe we might be going a little far with this in particular. If maybe it was an administrative permit rather than a conditional use permit, I would probably support something like that, but I don't want to see us make it too difficult to open these kind of facilities that actually do good work. So I do appreciate the intent in which it's offered, however.
Okay, further discussion. Yes, Assemblyperson Paul, go ahead.
Definition over here, opioid treatment facility, that terminology that's used to, I guess, Max or Mr. Gamble. Can you kind of, just for the record, explain what is opioid treatment facility? Is that where, sounds like good, but what is the definition of opioid treatment facility? Can somebody answer?
I don't know if Alex wanted to take part of that. What I can tell you is that somebody who, let's say, has a heroin addiction, and so they're trying to get off of heroin, they would go to an outpatient treatment center and get methadone treatments, which is a synthetic opioid, and it gives them relief from the withdrawals from heroin. And Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, but it gives them relief from the withdrawals from a true opioid heroin type addiction by using methadone. And so they would go to that facility, I don't know, on a regular basis and get methadone to take away the withdrawal treatments or symptoms. Thank you.
So this is not like an adult teen challenge where people come and they must stay clean, where they don't give any drugs. This is actually a treatment where they actually do give drugs. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. They're giving, my understanding, for heroin, it would be methadone, a synthetic type of opioid to help with the withdrawals from the real heroin.
That's almost sounding like you're, replacing one drug with another. So I don't know if I can support anything that promotes this kind of activity, honestly. So, but thank you for explaining that.
Assemblyperson Hours.
I am not a drug treatment counselor, but it's more complicated than that. It allows people to get off the drugs. But I'm not going to try to pretend I have drug treatment counseling experience. I think the comments of Assemblymember Hale are well taken about making things too hard. But on the other hand, I look at this section of code and it is littered with things that happened in the borough that nobody thought would get put where they were. And then we're like, oh, that was a bad idea. We should have some code about it. It has racetracks, adult oriented businesses. The list goes on. Oh, waste incinerators. So I think it would be better to have something in place to avoid a situation of a bad location. And if people are finding it that are in treatment, that are finding it too difficult to build because of something we put in here, I think we could revisit what we have here and, work with that, because I do think the goal is to get people treated. We have problems with that in the valley. So I'll be supporting it for that reason, with the note that if it is too onerous, that, we can come back and revisit.
Further, yes, Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just add to Mr. Hale that, this is a conditional use permit, but there's nothing that restricts you from adding an administrative permit, much like the gravel extraction permit has a conditional use permit and an administrative permit. I mean, Alex is nodding his head.
Further discussion on amendment number 2. Any objection? We do have an objection, Madam Clerk.
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Assemblymember McKee on the primary amendment. You'd have to press *2 to unmute yourself, Assemblymember McKee. Is she still on the line, Caleb?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Assemblymember McKee.
Yeah, already. I voted yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
We are trying to get this fixed. I just reset it. Everybody has to vote again. I'm so sorry. There we go. It passed with Assemblymember Hale opposed.
Okay, looks like we still have some more amendments on the table. I don't know if anybody's going to move them or not. Okay. Okay, sure. Assemblyperson Hours.
Yeah, I move to amend ordinance 25-046, MSB 17.60.125B5 by replacing the existing language with the following. This will be a little bit lengthy. The applicant shall provide a written operational plan detailing security, maintenance, and neighborhood coordination strategies. The plan shall include at a minimum the following elements: a security plan that includes education for employees on security and the provision of on-site or on-call security personnel during all hours of operation. B, clear internal and external rules for client and visitor conduct, including behavioral expectations and consequences for violations. C, strategies for managing client or visitor loitering to avoid disruption to nearby properties, including signage, staff presence, or other proactive measures. D, posting of visible outdoor signage on the facility property that summarizes conduct expectations for clients and visitors, including a prohibition on loud gatherings, littering, or trespassing. E, designation of a staff member as the facility's community contact responsible for addressing neighborhood concerns. The liaison's name and contact information shall be provided to the borough and made publicly visible on signage located near the main facility entrance. F, a maintenance and trash management plan ensuring that the facility grounds and adjacent areas are regularly cleaned and maintained to protect the quality and appearance of the surrounding neighborhood. And I can speak briefly to the intent of this. I have the same feelings as other assembly members. We want people to get treatment, but a lot of the ordinance focused on not locating these facilities in bad places, and this is focused on making sure that wherever they are located, they're operated in a way that doesn't impinge on the surrounding community. So I think we can all think of shelter situations where we've seen it's not what's happening inside the facility, it's what's happening outside the facility with the loitering and the trash and the drug use, and it impacts the surrounding area. So this is just to make sure that whoever's doing this facility has a plan in place to address these things, that they have a point of contact if there is a problem, that people can get these problems resolved, and that there's clear expectations set for people as far as their conduct. So that's the reason for this, to just make sure that if wherever these are placed, that they're operating well. And I think any good facility would have these things in place. It's just a matter of their operational plan anyways.
Discussion on amendment number 3. Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this is the reason why I skipped a portion of my amendment, because Ms. Nowers did it better. I wholeheartedly agree with this.
Okay. Further discussion on amendment number, yes, Assemblyperson Gamble.
Yeah, I agree with Assemblymember Sumner. This is an excellent amendment, and one that I wish I had thought of. Thank you.
Okay. Further discussion on amendment number 3. Any objection to amendment number 3? Okay, hearing none, then amendment number 3 has been adopted. Assemblyperson Hours, you have another one?
I do have one other amendment. I move to amend ordinance 25-046 MSB 17.60.125 by inserting section D that reads as follows: expiration of conditional use permit. A conditional use permit issued under this section shall expire 10 years from the date of issuance. Continuation of the use beyond the expiration date shall require submission and approval of a new conditional use permit application in accordance with this chapter. And the planning department shall notify the permit holder in writing no later than 12 months prior to the permit expiration date to inform them of the upcoming expiration and application requirements. And I can speak briefly to this one.
Yes, go ahead.
The intent of this is just to make sure there's some process in place that if you're having a facility that has problems, that there's a chance for looking at it again. And I feel like 10 years is long enough for somebody to make an investment. And if they're operating well, they shouldn't have a problem with getting a renewal. I wouldn't call it a renewal, but getting the permit back in place.
Okay, further discussion on amendment number 4. Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead, sir.
I'd offer a friendly secondary amendment for discussion and change 10 years to 5.
Okay. Sir, go ahead.
I did consider 5, and I had some discussions with folks about it. And it's just, if you're making a big investment in a facility, 5 years is a little challenging. And there wasn't a way legally to do a renewal, which was my preferred way to do it. So if we could do 5 years with a renewal, I would have gone that route. But we can't legally do that very well. And so that's why I went with the 10 years. I want to be fair to the entity that's doing it, that's looking at an investment. I felt like 5 was too short.
Okay, and Deputy Mayor?
You know, I can appreciate the 10 years because of the investment, but if they are doing something wrong, that's an awful long time to have to wait as well. The first thought I was thinking after reading 10 years was 5, and then Mr. Sumner kind of beat me to it.
Okay, go ahead.
Just to respond, I think if there's problems, they have a conditional use permit, so they can address the problems. But they have to go through the entire conditional use permit process again. And that's where I hung up on the 5 and went with the 10.
Okay, Assemblyperson Sumner?
I mean, forgive my ignorance, but is there a process to revoke a conditional use permit, Mr. Attorney?
Yes, if they're operating in violation, for sure. And in terms of the 5-year, 10-year, it is, you don't want to pass a law that nobody can comply with. And so when you look at investment-backed expectations and land use, a 10-year term is appropriate because somebody who's going to invest several $100,000s in facilities and buildings needs to be able to operate for a period of time to be able to recoup it. If you set too short a period and nobody can comply with it, you run the risk of passing an invalid land use regulation.
Yes, Assemblyperson Sumner.
Madam Clerk, is it cleaner to retract my amendment or just vote against it?
You can ask for a withdrawal, and the mayor can ask if there's any objection to withdrawal.
Can I withdraw my amendment?
Is there objection to him withdrawing his amendment? You, Assemblyperson Fanoff, you object to him withdrawing?
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I misunderstood your motions down there. Okay, so we're back to the main motion, or the amendment as presented. Okay, yes, Assemblyperson.
Oh, no, I thought we were on the main motion again. So, no further comment.
Okay, all right. So further discussion on amendment number 4. Yes, Assemblyperson Fanoff.
Secondary amendment to make it 7 years.
2.
He's striking 10 and putting 7.
This is Dee. Am I on?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
I have a question about all of these renewals of the conditional use permit. If the attorney just said you can, if they're in violation, you can basically shut them down at any time, why would you want anybody to have to go through that very onerous, and it always is, process of re-upping when you're doing everything right? I don't understand why we would even need that period. If they're doing a good job, there they go. If they're not, shut them down. That's just how I feel about it.
Okay. So the secondary amendment is to change the 10 to 7. Discussion on that part. Deputy Mayor.
Question to staff?
Sure. Does the
Alex, what do
assembly
you
have
think?
any objection?
Straight up.
Madam Mayor?
Yeah, go ahead. I
Yeah.
didn't hear any large
So
objection.
the question is, what do I think about having it expire 7 years from 5 or 7, 10? I mean, I think there's definitely some things to consider here. Obviously, the consideration of the investment that's made and the legal requirements. When we go to enforce, we have we look at the conditions that are within their permit and the standards of code, and if they're meeting those things, then we're not going to be able to do any enforcement. There may be other things that happen, like alcohol-related business moves in next door, or a school moves in, or they're doing something that isn't necessarily in code or in their permit that may be an issue, that we would not be able to have that path to issuing citations and eventual revocation of their permit. So that's things to consider, but ultimately it's sort of a policy that you guys need to consider. So.
Assemblyperson Hale, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question for Alex as well, if I may. Do we have any other conditional use permits that expire and have to be reapplied for?
Mayor, none that I know that are in code. However, it is not uncommon for us to, when I say us, the Planning Commission, to actually impose expiration dates on, say, gravel permits, for instance. They may say that this expires within 10 years, but there's nothing hard set in code that is. Yeah.
Assemblyperson Hale, follow up.
And in your example of, say, a liquor store moving in within that 10-year period, or a school being built within 1,000 feet within that 10-year period, would that then create a non-conforming use for that property? Or if the conditional use permit was revoked, or I mean not revoked, but had to be reapplied for, would it no longer meet the requirements?
Yeah. To the mayor, I think at that case, when they go back to the Planning Commission, we would have to recommend denial because they no longer meet the section of code.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Assemblyperson. No. I don't know if he backed off, so I guess not.
No, I'm on.
Okay.
Can I go?
Do you have a comment, ma'am? Go ahead.
I do. Yes, I do. Yep. If you're gonna put a school or a church or whatever, a kindergarten, that encroaches upon what you've already granted somebody else for a conditional use permit, and they put all this money into it, why would you allow a school, a church, kindergarten, whatever, to mess with that? Probably a better way of saying it, but if they've got the conditional use permit and they've invested the money and they're doing a good job, why would anybody ever grant that other entity moving in and saying, oh, I'm sorry, they moved in, you got to go? Alex, maybe?
We're on the secondary amendment. We got to start talking about the secondary amendment.
Yeah, we're on the secondary, the secondary amendment to change the 10 to 7. So that's what the discussion.
I guess this would apply to that one, the 10 to the 7 or the 5 or whatever, whatever one it would apply to. If we're on the secondary, then I'm saying I don't know why we're doing that.
Okay. Assembly person hours.
Just to your point, we may not have something that puts time limits, but like Palmer has a permit for a construction debris dump that they renew. I think it's on like a 10-year cycle. I guess I just still feel like we're putting a lot of conditions out there. We have the ability to revoke. We have that issue that you brought up, which is what happens if something moves in the intervening time and they apply for a new permit, which we'd obviously, if we had a well-operating facility, we'd want to resolve. So I guess I'm still like, I don't know, there's never a magic number, but I feel like it could be a pretty big investment. And I think 10 is fair with considering the number of conditions we put on in particular. So I would stick with 10.
Okay, so it sounds like there is an objection to changing the 10 to 7. So, Madam Clerk?
If I can get the members in the room to go ahead and vote. Assemblymember McKee.
No.
Madam Mayor, it has failed with Assemblymember Fanoff in support.
Okay. Ready for the discussion on amendment number 4? Any objection to amendment number 4? Yeah.
Could you remind me what an amendment number 4 is?
It's putting the expiration of a conditional use permit at 10 years.
Okay. If that's what we're on, then I vote no.
Okay. And we do have an objection, Madam Clerk.
If I can get the members to go ahead and vote that are in the room. Assemblymember McKee.
Nope.
Madam Mayor, it is passed with Assemblymember Hale and McKee opposed.
Okay. So do we have more amendments for 25-4046? Yeah. Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, I have one more amendment, and I pulled this from my first amendment after Michelle's testimony, public comment. So I still want to throw it out there for discussion with the Assembly. I move to amend ordinance 25-046 MSB 17.60.125 by deleting references to earthen berms as follows. 17.60.125A6, the homeless shelter shall be screened by a continuous solid fence to reduce negative effects on adjacent properties. 17. Oh wait, maybe Lonnie, maybe you should read this because I think I might be messing it up.
Okay, that's okay. Leaving 176125A6 to read, the homeless shelter shall be screened by a continuous solid fence to reduce negative effects on adjacent properties. 176125, it's basically deleting all of that section D. And then 176125C2B is being deleted also.
Okay, did you want to speak to your amendment, sir?
Yeah, when we first, when Alex, Mark, and I met in Alex's office and came up with the verbiage for this ordinance, we came up with, ingress and egress should be controlled somehow, so we don't have, people entering and exiting the facility, wandering through the woods and adjacent properties. That was the intent. Earthen berms or fences is what went into the initial language. I subsequently thought, well, an earthen berm won't really keep ingress and egress at bay, but it would, make some screening. After Michelle's testimony, she has some really salient arguments for why we shouldn't fence or screen it. So I just want to open up for discussion to the rest of the assembly and see which path we should take. Earthen berms and fences, none at all, fences only. And with Mr. Gamble's amendment, opioid treatment centers are not affected by the screening.
Okay, discussion on amendment number 5. All right. Is there any objection to amendment number 5? Okay, I guess you got your answer, sir. So amendment number 5 has. Now, do we still have pending amendments or new amendments? Okay, all right. So before you now is ordinance 25-046 as amended. Further discussion? Any objection? Okay, don't see any objection, then the ordinance passes. I'm sorry, did I miss? Oh, recess. Okay, already. Let's go ahead and take a break till 5 minutes after 8. So if I can go ahead and have the council assembly come back to order, please. Thank you. Yep. Mhm. Okay, so thank you for coming back to order. And Madam Clerk? Thank you.
I'm just making sure we had a quorum at the table.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Ordinance, excuse me.
Mhm.
Ordinance
Yeah, we're doing-
25054, an ordinance adopting MSB 1524-030B48, Bogard Selden Corridor Access Management Plan. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, sir?
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the Assembly. Once again, this is Alex Strawn, Planning Director for the Matsu Borough. Today to talk about an ordinance that would officially adopt the Corridor Access Management Plan for the stretch of the Bogard-Selden corridor between Glen Highway and Church Road. This has been a pretty big project that has been done with federal dollars. We had a federal grant to do this project in the state of Alaska, and we hired HDR as the consultant. And I do want to give a shout out to Julie Spackman, who managed this project as sort of a brand new planner at the borough. She was corralling not only the consultant, but DOT planners and engineers and public works and planning directors, and did an absolutely incredible job doing it. It was the corridor that we're talking about is, some parts of it are old, like really old, before statehood, and some parts of it are really new. And some parts of it are managed by the state of Alaska, and some parts are managed by the borough. So it was a collaborative project with the Borough Public Works and Planning and State of Alaska Department of Transportation. As many of you who have been living here for a while know, that this road, when we put in the Bogard Road East extension, which went from Palmer High to Colony High, this became sort of overnight a major east to west thoroughfare, and the amount of traffic on that road increased substantially. And it is anticipated that the amount of traffic on that road will continue to increase. It has never had proper corridor access management, and so therefore there are a lot of conflict points and there's starting to be congestion and a lot of accidents. So we should have done this a long time ago, but better late than never. So along this road, you have, this is a minor arterial road, and it's really, hopefully, you want a road like this to carry traffic safely at a reasonable speed. Because there are so many access points and offset intersections and the like, that is just not the case, and it's only anticipated to get worse. So ideally on a road like this, you would limit access to about a quarter-mile spacing between different access points. And unfortunately, we have like individual businesses and residents that have individual access, and then just way more access than should be on there. So what this does is it recommends that certain intersections be blocked off, cul-de-saced, frontage roads or backage roads, in order to get everybody access, and just is a tool that can be used as for when we do platting actions, for when we're getting permits for, like, say, large gas stations or gravel pits or racetracks or anything that generates a lot of traffic. We can use this as a tool to sort of guide where that access might be. Since this has been in draft format, we have actually already used this as a tool many times. It can also be used as a tool for right-of-way vacations. If somebody wants to vacate a right-of-way, it may be that it's not necessary, and we can go ahead and vacate that. And our plan tells us that this is not necessary because we know where the access is really going to need to be. I guess I do want to say that this is a long-term vision for access on this corridor. This is not a design. This is not a road project. If this were to get adopted, we would not all of a sudden be telling people they need to move their driveway or remove their driveway. This is a document that will be used in guiding decisions going forward, be it road projects or.
Assemblyperson McKee, will you mute your phone, please?
I did, but I'll try it again.
Assemblymember McKee, I just want to make sure you know it's *2, not #2. It's *2.
Sounds like you got it, lady.
Very good. Very
Okay.
good.
Sorry, Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So in collaboration with the state and our contractor, we were able to put this together. We did do a very extensive outreach effort. We held an open house. We sent out postcards to not just people along the corridor, but even a little bit off the corridor. Anybody we thought that might be impacted by this plan, we made a concerted effort to reach out to. And then when we made changes based on the public comments, we actually reached out to people who would be affected again. We actually went on site in many cases and walked the property with people to hear their voices and to either make changes or not. But we definitely did a very extensive outreach. And so, yeah, a very useful tool. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
Okay. Does anyone have questions? Yes, Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Yeah, I know that, the analysis didn't rise to the level of like a feed study or anything, but how in depth did you guys go at analyzing, or how much weight was used for the feasibility and cost of some of these approaches, or eliminating this road but leaving that one, or funneling traffic from one to the other?
Yeah, so through the mayor.
Go ahead, sir.
To member Sumner. So, a lot of this was done by the engineering staff of the contractor. So I don't know all the ins and outs of what they did, but from my understanding, based on all the meetings that we had and discussions, is they're really using topography and looking at the rights of ways, consulting with borough staff, consulting with state staff, and sort of doing a high level, map level concept of where the roads might be. They did not look at where the utilities are. They did not look at where, unless it was like on the imagery or we had a really good idea. They didn't look at, they didn't go into very extreme detail about where these roads might go, just for limitations of this study.
Further, yes, Assemblyperson Hours, go ahead.
So in terms of implementation, a lot of this road is state managed road. So those places where we're looking at closing intersections or changing them up, we're going to have to put that forward to the state as a proposal. And if we get into it and they say that's going to be super expensive to put a, road, when we get to that point, when they're actually going to spend money on the road and do that analysis, do we have the flexibility to say, the plan says we're going to do that, but it really isn't the best way for that particular area, and we're going to change that up?
Yeah. So through the mayor,
Go ahead, sir.
to some hours. So, this is not something that's going to be set in stone that you have to, if you're going to do a road project, you have to do it this way. This is a starting point. The state, in my understanding, is required by state law that when they are doing a road project that they have to look at the local municipalities' plans. So they would look at that as a starting point to say this is their vision for this corridor. But they're going to do recon studies. They're going to do in-depth research. They're going to do public outreach and have engineers study it and look at the cost and the implications. And they're going to invariably, they're probably going to deviate from what's in the plan. But it's a starting point for them that they need to consider when they're developing road projects.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, thank you, sir. So I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for ordinance 25-054. And we do have a sign-up sheet, and I will call on those people first, but then it will be open to anybody else that would like to comment on this ordinance. So Renee Blake.
My name is Renee Blake, B-L-A-K-E, and I'm speaking on segment D, 4.5.4, number 6, the road connection. On behalf of the residents of Woodfield Park, we oppose the recommendation to push East Porcupine Trail onto East Serendipity Loop. Woodfield Park is a nice neighborhood, and we don't want it compromised with the throughway. It jeopardizes the safety of 83 homeowners, to include a lot of children, adults, and pets. The intent of the camp is to consolidate and limit residential access to the corridor. This recommendation doesn't make sense because North Larson Elementary Circle isn't a residential road. It's a busy public road for the school and the sports complex. During the school season, when people are dropping off and picking up their kids, Larson has bumper-to-bumper traffic coming in and a steady stream of traffic going out. The residents of East Serendipity Loop have to use Woodfield Drive on the other side of the neighborhood to access Selden. Any residents from Village Park who try to get to Selden from Larson will end up coming through our neighborhood as well, making it a throughway. I do support the plan to improve the problem areas on the corridor, especially segment C from Trunk Road to the roundabout at Bogart and Selden, but I just don't see that segment D is a problem. And I want to just talk from the camp. For segment C, it says to improve the existing intersection spacing, reduce conflict points, and improve vehicular flow, several access management strategies are recommended, and that's for C. But when you go to D, it says segment D has sufficient intersection spacing and access control. This access control should be preserved, and the number of access points along the segment should not be increased. So, why are we trying to fix something that doesn't appear to be broken when it's causing harm to the homeowners? Is it really necessary to close East Village Loop because of engineering spacing requirements when that road really isn't a problem? I think there needs to be a better plan, and I've been here for 22 years, and I've seen these roads, I've seen how they're used. A plan that protects our neighborhoods, or we leave it as is and keep the neighborhoods intact and save money. I understand it is a plan, and I understand that there'll be a lot more details to come, but I just want to go on record as saying we are opposed to making our subdivision a throughway. So thank you for your time.
Rod Hansen.
Good evening. I'm going to read fast. Rod Hansen with the North Lakes Community Council. The council strongly supports the adoption of the Bogard-Selden Corridor Access Management Plan, and also the follow-up, the work that's going to be necessary to implement some projects here. Bogard and Selden Road run through the heart of our community. This corridor is at the top of the list when it comes to public safety concerns for our roughly 10,000 residents. In particular, that section C, the notorious 3-mile stretch from Bogard and Trunk to where the Selden roundabout is, woefully underdesigned for the current level of traffic, let alone the forecasted levels of traffic in the future. This section of Bogard has been studied for years, and the situation we find ourselves in really shouldn't be a surprise. Prior planning efforts identified many of the same issues, many of the same solutions, but here we are. As Alex said, better late than never. This time it has to work. The devil is in the details when it comes to the specific, design features and decisions that get made on individual projects. But I think the principles that are outlined in CAMP must remain front and center. Things like non-traversable medians and barriers, frontage, baggage roads, directional medians, left turn lanes, right in, right out intersections, no more direct access onto Bogard in that segment, and then future intersection control, all very key principles. And I just want to illustrate a couple things. So one project that really needs to be coordinated and aligned with CAMP, and we don't believe currently is the Shaw Elementary Birch Tree Charter School, and I spoke with the Assembly at the last meeting about that project. That project, if implemented as it's currently laid out, would dump another 1,000+ cars a day onto Charlie and Caribou. And Caribou intersection with Bogart is one of the main problem intersections we have. That number puts that intersection on par with Engstrom, and we know what we're doing there. It's important to get that Bogart Moose Cottonwood Loop intersection constructed as envisioned in the plan, and get that roundabout or a signal controlled intersection in there. And it's also really important to start the improvements to Charlie Mariah shortcut between Bogart and Wasilla Fishhook. Another project is the connecting road between Engstrom and Trunk Road. This needs to happen soon to alleviate traffic in the worst section of the Bogart corridor. A southern route connection would be the quickest and least expensive option and would provide an alternative way for gravel trucks to get access to the new Central Gravel Products operation. And the DOT that they permitted that operation puts the trucks directly onto Bogart in direct conflict with the principles in the plan. So we support CAMP. We strongly encourage you to approve it. And then from there, aggressive prioritization and planning of the borough role in all of the connecting side streets. Thank you.
Thank you. Artie?
I have some documents that I'd like to share.
Mhm.
Just one page each.
You can go ahead, sir.
Okay. As the documents are being passed out, I've created, already phone off with Eagle Eye Secure Storage. Sorry, this is my first time doing this. Heart's beating a little bit fast. I appreciate your time to listen to me today. There is a proposal for our first location, our Salden Road location, for its access point to be moved adjacent to Tate Road. If you look at the front of my diagram, green box is where our current accessway is, red is where the new one would be. What the engineers didn't consider, they called this a driveway. I'm calling it an access point because we have customers with trailers, big U-Hauls, moving in and out, so long tail as they're coming into the facility. And we specifically built that recessed access point so that people can comfortably go in. Plus, the topography has this hill above, and we need to stretch that hill out as much as possible. What I'm proposing is to keep our existing access point. It would be cheaper. Makes more sense. Since we've opened business in 2011, we've had no reported car accidents regarding entering or exiting that business. With 410 feet from the center of our access point to Tate Road, I know it's close, but it's not too close for comfort. Lots of vehicles get in and out of there every day. If you look on the back side, you'll see two separate images. One showing that from the white line on the shoulder to our gate, it's 91 feet right now. And if we did a really stubby access, which is going to be a huge pain in the butt for my customers, at 26 feet, right up against our storage building, it leaves only 35 feet on a steep slope, cutting that to like 40% of what our current one is. We're essentially reinventing the wheel when it's not broken, and that's why my request is to keep it as is. There's some bullet points on the bottom right. I think I covered everything, but I'll just leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Last thing, there's a
Go
traffic.
ahead.
Go ahead. There's a traffic count. During the weekday, we average 3 cars per hour. During the weekend, it's 4 cars per hour. I don't know what that adds or takes away, but I thought I'd leave that information in there. Thank you.
Thank you. Adam?
Hello, I'm Adam Bradway. I'm here in my capacity as the transportation planner for the Alaska Department of Transportation. I just kind of wanted to give general support towards this plan and access management planning in the borough in general, especially for arterial roads. Obviously, Bogart Selden is a main concern for your entity and our entity, and I think that we in coordination with the Matsu Borough, have done a very good job with public outreach on this effort, not just asking for comments, but actually engaging them. And I think that the product is good and will help us with our designs and our future projects to sort of understand where access is best suited. Obviously this is a problematic roadway, and I hope that we can do more access management planning and access management strategies for other roadways in the future before they get to this point. So we're not having quite such hard conversations about, people's driveways and things. So yeah, general support from the Department of Transportation, and thank you for your engagement on this.
Thank you, Adam. That takes care of the people that signed up. Anyone else who would like to? Yes. Yep.
Good evening, Assembly members. My name is Anthony Rotelli. I'm a homeowner in the East Village Loop neighborhood, currently misidentified in this plan as East Village Drive. I respectfully oppose segment D, specifically pointed towards numbers 3, 4, and 6 of the Bogard-Selden Corridor Access Management Plan. Found in image D2 on page 41, the segment proposes to permanently eliminate East Village Loop's access to the Selden Road, redirecting neighborhood traffic through Ptarmigan Place and East Serendipity Loop. I offer several clear, grounded reasons why I think this proposal should be rejected or at least substantially revised. One, school traffic does not justify permanent access elimination. The primary justification appears to be localized congestion near Larson Elementary during brief daily school traffic periods. These events occur twice daily, kind of short windows, hardly a basis for the complete and permanent removal of a public access route used year-round. Modern traffic engineering principles favor targeted mitigation, such as right turn only restrictions, designated turn lanes, time-specific controls, etc. Two, disproportionate redistribution of traffic burdens. I think redirecting East Village Loop traffic through an adjacent residential street, specifically the Ptarmigan Place and Serendipity Loop, displaces municipal traffic volumes onto streets never designed for through traffic. This exposes nearby residents to increased noise, safety risks, and wear, and undermines the principle of equitable infrastructure use. Worse, it fails to improve overall flow and merely just transfers congestion from one neighborhood to another, which kind of contradicts the stated goals of access management. Three, contrary to regional arterial hierarchy, Selden Road was not developed to function as a major arterial. This region already benefits from appropriate arterial routes, including Palmer-Wasilla Highway. We even have Palmer-Fishhook. You have the Parks Highway if you need to. Expanding Selden into a high-volume commuter corridor through school zones and residential clusters not supported by any demonstrable traffic necessity conflicts with responsible transportation hierarchy and land planning. I think it impairs response for emergency. I think it can interfere with property value and reliance interests, and I think constitutionally speaking, this could potentially violate right to access and regulatory takings. In conclusion, segment D proposes a permanent and disproportionate remedy for limited time specific traffic concern. It misallocates burden, degrades neighborhood infrastructure, and interferes with constitutionally protected rights. I urge the Assembly to reject or at least significantly amend this segment in favor of proportionate, legally sound, and community respecting alternatives. Thank you for your time, service, and careful consideration of the matter.
Thank you. Yes, sir. Did you? Mhm.
So, my name is Jade Laughlin. Last name is Laughlin. Camp, I've done a bunch of research on it, and for the most part, I agree with it. The parts that I don't agree with is we keep saying this is a reference, but in it, there's a lot of teeth that, like the gentleman from Eagle Eye, you're making a huge mistake moving his driveway. The other storage unit, by Lagoon, you're making a huge mistake because you're impacting private parties and you're putting undue financial burden on an already existing business that's been there for a number of years. Your question, Ms. Nauers, about the state, talking with the state. If you want to abandon Lagoon and make a cul-de-sac out of the state, it's going to be like, go ahead, do whatever you want. We're not paying for it. And like Mr. Brown points out, we can't fund our roads as it is in the near future. So I would encourage you to look at camp from a financials perspective. I think in the whole, there's a lot of really great plans about it, but in the short term, if you're going to impact this road, like I just got a driveway permit on this and went through, it took me almost 2 years to get it. What we went through with that, most businesses can't handle that. They can't handle that 2-year period that it took me to get what I needed. So you need to take it case by case and don't use camp as this is a fix all, because it's not. You're not gonna fix all your problems with it. You're gonna fix some of your problems with it. Like Mr. Hansen said, the section from Trunk Road to Selden Bogard roundabout is the most critical one. That's where I think you guys need to be focusing all your attention on and all your help on, to the point of putting a stoplight at Earl. Why are we taking these kids' lives in our hands by not having a stoplight there? Why are we not pressuring the state to put a stoplight there? And were they just doing all this work right now? Why did we not pressure them to put turn lanes in there? I mean, this was a golden opportunity right now to have this. That problem, it's not going to fix it, but it would have been a significant Band-Aid. So thanks for your time. Thanks to Mr. Strawn and their crew for what they've done with camp. But please do not take this as gospel. You got to take every application and everything as it's on its merits. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anyone else that would like to address the assembly on this ordinance? Do we have anybody? We do have, okay, go ahead. Who's ever online, please?
Hi, my name is Christina Rathbun, Rathbun, and I would like to discuss also segment D, 4.5, specifically connecting Porcupine Trail to East Serendipity Loop. I live on East Serendipity Loop. I'd like to echo Renee Blake's comment. This is where there's a new golf course also being built in our neighborhood, so we're going to have even more increased traffic just from that. And the section where they're talking about punching through Porcupine onto East Selden, they just completed a walking path last year, so they would be demolishing something they just created in order to make it into a road, which takes away the safety of our kids walking to school. And most of the kids in this neighborhood walk. Being in this neighborhood is like seeing, going back to the 80s, 70s, 80s, and earlier, when you'd see kids playing on the street. They're not stuck in the house on video games and that stuff. Their kids play on the street here, and that's why most homeowners here bought homes here, is it was family friendly, and you felt like your kids were safe playing on the street. It would negatively impact all of us in this neighborhood to have that punched through. It would decrease our property values. It's not a sound plan. I understand right now with the template, but I think they need to keep this in mind, that the homeowners in both of these neighborhoods that they're trying to connect are not happy with this plan. Even if they were to close off the access to the village Park subdivision onto Selden, they do have another exit onto Wasilla Fishhook. So they do not need to come through our neighborhood in order to get out. I think that the turn lanes would help alleviate a lot of the congestion for the school. But you're adding more congestion to homeowners, to the entire neighborhood here. And I just think that they really need to concentrate on segment C, which I agree needs drastic help. But as Renee stated, actually in the plan itself, it says that everything is fine in segment D. So I'm not sure why there were even suggestions on how to improve that when they said all the access points are great. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have another person online, sir? We do not? Okay. One last chance. Anyone here that would like to address the assembly on ordinance 25-054 and you have not testified? Okay, so I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. And let's see, who do we have here? Assemblyperson Fauna?
I move to adopt ordinance 25-054.
Okay, would you like to discuss it, sir?
Yes, so just as we were getting some of this testimonies, I've received many comments and prepared one amendment that has a lot of details, but as I was speaking, after I want to, whether it's prepared amendment I want to propose, then maybe ask if we can get Alex back so we can discuss some of the questions that we have, so potentially to make additional amendments. But basically, Alex summarized it really well. We had another meeting earlier today with the staff, and you'll have amendment that was prepared in front of you. It's has a lot of the segments on it. I'm gonna have you read that or summarize it, and then we can go into details on that, please. Yes, please.
For Assemblymember Fanoff, he moves to amend ordinance 25054, Bogart-Selden Corridor Access Management Plan, Segment C, remove the following language from section 4.4.410, page 30, cul-de-sac to East Ashmore connection to East Bogard Road, access to be maintained via Ashmore Avenue and North Green Forest Drive, and remove map symbols, figure 4, page 33, for cul-de-sac at East Ashmore Avenue, section 4.4.4.10, page 30. Add closure symbol on the map for the closure of a current entrance to Finger Lakes State Park Road, figure 4, page 33. Add map symbols, figure 5, page 35, to indicate new roadway connection from East Birch Acres to North Bear Street and North Grayling Street, from East Birch Acres and East Chinook. 3, remove the following language from section 4.4.4.7. Improve East Pike Avenue and East King Salmon Drive to meet MSB road standards from North Bear Street to North Lorries Way. Challenges improving to East Pike Avenue to East King Salmon Drive may arise due to non-conforming parcels in this subdivision, and remove map symbols for road connection improvement from East King Salmon Drive to East Pike Avenue, figure 5, page 35, segment D. 4, remove recommendation and map symbols for tax ID 759-2000L001 driveway access realignment with Tate Drive, section 4.5.4.5, page 38, segment E. Remove the following language from section 4642, page 44. North Jacksnipe Drive, access to from Selden Road is maintained off East Rock. And remove map symbols, figure 7, page 47, for cul-de-sac on Jacksnipe Drive. 6, remove the following language from sections 4642, page 45. North Old Squaw Loop, access to from Old Squaw Loop will be maintained via new roadway connection between North Old Squaw Loop and East Pintail Drive. Roadway connections connect East Pintail Drive to North Old Squaw Loop. Proposed alignment will be determined during the environmental and design phase of the project. And remove map symbol figure 7, page 47, for cul-de-sac at Old Squaw Loop, and a new road constructed between North Old Squaw Circle and Pintail Drive. 7, remove the following language from section 4646, page 45. Preferred alignment, realign North Snow Goose Drive to align with North Hermitite Drive. This will require grading to reduce the hill and provide adequate intersection site distance on East Selden Road. This will impact 4 parcels in the northwest quadrant of North Goose Drive. Replace the first alternative option with the preferred alignment. Realign North Hermitite Drive to align with the existing North Snow Goose Drive intersection. Remove this will impact 2 parcels in the southeast quadrant of North Hermitite Drive. Replace map symbols figure 7, page 47, with the new preferred realignment of North Hermitite Drive with North Snow Goose Drive. Segment F, 8, remove the following language from section 4743, page 51, roadway realignment. To further improve unsignalized intersection spacing, North Eureka Circle should be realigned to the west to align with Mountain Crest Drive. This will impact 2 parcels. And remove the map symbols figure 8, page 53, for realignment of North Eureka Circle with Mountain Crest Drive.
Would you like to address
Thank
them,
you.
sir?
Some of these things were brought up, including one of them was from the storage access. We earlier, previous meeting, we had a gentleman from the Old Squaw Loop who also they actually later gave us a signature of letters, and it was just some of those things when we really looked into it, like, wow, yeah, that doesn't make sense. So if there's any specific questions to this, I can answer, but these are some of the proposals that would simplify it, make it more friendly, and it doesn't impact overall goal of what we're trying to achieve.
Okay, Assembly Person Hours and then Sumner.
I have a question for Assemblymember Fanov. Is that segment D change, is that affecting a family member? Is that a family member's
Go ahead.
business?
Which one you said?
Segment D, the Tate Drive.
What do you mean family? It's for the business that, yes, I'm related to the owner.
Okay, could we take that one, could we divide that and take that one separately?
Okay.
So what is it,
D?
the segment D for remove recommendation?
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see, is there an objection to dividing the question? Okay. There's no, so which,
Madam Mayor?
yes. go
If
ahead.
there's no objection to dividing the question, everything that's on here except segment D4 should be talked about and voted on, and then you move on to the D4.
Okay, great. All right, that was going to be my question to you. Thank you. Okay, so, and then let's see, this is number 1, isn't it? Okay, so Assemblyperson Sumner? Discussion?
Yeah, I gotta admit, there's a lot to digest in this amendment, and then we have another amendment coming up from another assembly member. I would like to move to postpone this to the next meeting so we could get maybe a rundown from Alex's office and some pictorials about what this affects and what this is going to change to the camp. Because I don't feel comfortable voting either way on this. I mean, I know one of these I wholeheartedly agree with, Mr. Fawnoff, number 7. But some of it I haven't had adequate time to digest yet.
Okay, so there is a motion to postpone 2 weeks from tonight or till a July meeting?
2 weeks.
June
2 weeks.
17th.
Okay, so June 17th, okay. So the discussion regarding postponing, Assemblyperson Gamble?
Yeah, I agree, because it sounds like in addition to these 2 amendment pages that we have here, Assemblymember Fanov may be actually adding even more. So I would agree. This is a lot to digest, and I'm a visual person. I'd like to see it on a map so I can visualize exactly what these changes are going to do, how they're going to affect the plan. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Fanov?
So, I guess is intent to just completely right now move on to the next item, or work with some of the things that we have and then postpone it? That is my question.
Okay, the motion is just to postpone the whole ordinance is the way I understand it. So we'll vote on that. If there is objection to it, and there is objection, no, okay. Do you have an objection to the
Not
motion?
objection, I guess I don't see a reason why we can start working on the issue and then what we have presented. Obviously, I will have more probably, but then continue and then postpone it so we continue, not just go untouched at all.
Okay.
Assemblymember Hale.
Oh, okay, Assemblyperson or Hale or Deputy Mayor? Okay.
I agree. As far as postponing, when we do take this up, let's have some big maps. That way everybody can see what's going on here and reason why it should be amended.
Okay, Assemblyperson Hale, comments?
Yeah, I support postponement. We only have 4 items for introduction for that 6/17 meeting, so that would give us plenty of time at that meeting to really kind of dig into this.
Okay. Assemblyperson Powers?
I'd also support postponement, and if there are additional items, I'd appreciate those, getting those in as soon, or, some amount before the meeting so we have time to digest it.
Okay, Assemblyperson Gamble?
Yeah, it's my understanding this isn't a critical issue. We've got lots of time to work on this, so I'd rather wait and get it right. Thank you.
Okay, so is there objection to postponing? Okay, I don't see any objection, so the postponement amendment passes then. That's okay, go ahead.
Okay. Ordinance 25065, an ordinance approving land classification of borough-owned property as reserved use land for the purpose of an emergency services facility in the core area. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Assembly, and staff. Ken Barkley, Director of Emergency Services. So this was already brought to you once before, but Land Management noticed that there was a clerical error. The property is on, that we're trying to reserve is for emergency services facility. But when we talked about it, it's the property to the west, but the way it was written was the property to the east. So this is just clarification and fixing that. In order to do that, Land Management thought it was best to go back out for public comment so that we can go through the process again, which they did. Only one comment came back, and that was positive. So there's no changes. It's just we had to correct a clerical error. So that's all that this is in front of you.
Okay, thank you. Questions of staff? Assemblyperson Nowers, go ahead.
I remember I had this question last time, but I can't remember the answer. What is since we're just talking about this corridor, and this would go on that corridor that we're talking about, what is the plan for the access point? And is it going to line up with a road across from it?
Through the mayor, Assemblymember Nowers, as stated before, an engineer study would take place, and that would determine our access and egress for that area.
Have you looked at it at all to see if that's feasible to line up the access point with I believe there's a road across from it, and I just can't remember the name. Tate. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, that would be an engineer's study would have to be done because of the traffic flow and an egress and exit for us.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions of staff? Okay, all right, thank you, sir. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-065. I don't believe we have a sign-up sheet. Anyone in the audience that would like to address this ordinance? Do we have anybody online? We do not. Let's see, nobody moving. I will go ahead and close the public hearing, and the Assemblyperson Paula.
I move to adopt ordinance 25065.
Okay. Would you like to discuss it, sir?
No, I think he already brought up everything that needed to be said.
Okay. Any discussion by the Assembly? Okay. Is there any objection by the Assembly? Okay. Hearing no objection, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25067, an ordinance approving an appropriation of $250,000 from the Enhanced 911 fund balance to a project to allow aerial imagery acquisition program to collect data to support 911 call taking and addressing with accompanying resolution 25052. A resolution approving the scope of work and budget for a project to allow the aerial imagery acquisition program to collect data to support 911 call taking and addressing. And if you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Assembly. Leah Jones, IT Director. This appropriation is requesting $250,000 from the E911 fund to pay for half of the 3-year imagery acquisition program for 2026 to 2028. Again, imagery assists call takers and dispatchers in locating 911 callers and provides other benefits to the borough.
Questions of staff? Assemblyperson Gamble, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Leah, how is the other half funded?
Through the mayor to Assemblymember Gamble, through CIP funds.
So this project will do more than just support 911 call taking and addressing. The aerial imaging will be used for more than just that. Is that correct?
Correct. Assessments uses it for, assessing purposes. We also put it up on our parcel viewer. It's used for developers, contractors, public.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, further questions of staff? Okay, all right, thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-067 and resolution 25-052. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Does anybody like to address the assembly on this ordinance or resolution? Do we have anybody online? We do not. One last chance. Okay, I'll go ahead and close public hearing and let's see.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-067 and resolution 25-052.
Okay, thank you. Discussion? Yes, Assemblyperson Sumner, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to chime in that as a contractor, I use the borough's aerial imagery darn near every day, and I know that real estate professionals do too.
Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection to the ordinance and resolution? Okay, seeing and hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 25069, an ordinance approving a reappropriation of $75,000 from the Land and Resource Division 2025 operating budget to project number 47031 with accompanying resolution 2553, a resolution approving the scope and work and budget for the material site development reclamation. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Thanks, Emerson.
Good evening,
Go
Madam
ahead,
Mayor,
sir.
members of the Assembly. My name is Emerson Kruger. I'm the Borough Resource Manager. So there were some funds in the operating budget for this fiscal year that weren't used for the online land sales, and we're asking to move those into a project fund that we have to develop material sites and reclaim old material sites. We've been consistently asking for money to do both those things, and the costs to do both are very high, and we don't have enough money to do it, and we're hoping to tackle 2 different sites with this funding if it gets approved.
Questions of staff? Okay, alrighty, thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-069 and resolution 25-053. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Is there anyone that would like to testify on this ordinance or this resolution? Okay, seeing we do not have anybody online. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt ordinance 25-069 and resolution 25-053.
Okay, discussion by the Assembly. Any objection to the legislation? Hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2570, an ordinance extending the time of completion on expiring community transportation grant match funds through June 30th, 2035. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press *3.
Staff? Aye.
Hi. Through the mayor to the assembly. Before you is the extension of a grant match expiration date to 2035. It's set to expire in 2025. This funding is matching the Selden Road reconstruction project and pathway that was approved under the community transportation plan.
Questions of staff? Okay, thank you. I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-070. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Anyone that would like to testify? Do we have anybody online? We do not, sir. Last chance. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing on ordinance 25-070. Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-070.
Discussion by the assembly. Is there any objection to the legislation by the assembly? Okay, hearing none, then the legislation passes. Madam Clerk.
Ordinance 2571, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $25,000 from revenue replacement funding for the 2022 windstorm disaster funding shortfalls. The accompanying resolution 2554, a resolution approving the scope of work and budget for the 2022 windstorm disaster funding shortfalls. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, hi.
Through the mayor to the assembly, Shine Heindel, finance director. Before you is an appropriation for an additional $25,000 from the revenue replacement funding for the American Rescue Act grant funds. This is to cover $25,000 in costs that both FEMA and the state of Alaska did not cover under the wind disaster.
Okay, questions from staff or to staff?
So where's this money come from?
The American Rescue Plan money from the COVID money we received previously, we were allowed to recognize $460,000 from revenue replacement as part of that funded borough services. So we're utilizing that money now to cover the shortfall in the wind disaster.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm going to go. Yes, that's it. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing on ordinance 25-071 and resolution 25-054. Does anyone like to? We do not have a sign-up sheet. Thank you. We do not have anybody online. Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And Deputy Mayor?
I move to adopt ordinance 25-071 and resolution 25-054.
Discussion by the assembly. Any objection by the assembly? Seeing no objection, then the legislation passes.
Ordinance 25072, an ordinance accepting and appropriating $36,294.33 from the Guardian Asset Management for community cleanup and abatement of junk and trash issues. The accompanying resolution 2555, a resolution approving the scope of work and amending the budget for the cleanup and abatement project. If you're on the phone and would like to speak to this, press star 3.
Staff, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Alex Strawn, Planning Director from Natsu Borough. This is part of our cleanup efforts that we have been doing over the past year, community cleanup program, and it was our first case for part of the diversion program where somebody had been convicted and instead of paying the fine, did a lot of work out there, or instead of doing their charges were able to be dropped. And instead of doing that, they were able to do some work for us. And then this home, which was very trashy and was a blight for the neighborhood, was, I believe, in foreclosure. And so we were able to recoup some of the costs that we had for disposing of the junk and trash on the property, and that's acceptance of that money.
Questions to staff? Okay. Yeah, Mr.
Can I add
Attorney.
on to that? We actually had sued the former record owners for junk and trash violations, and we interpled the mortgage company. And so the mortgage company, that's what this is. This is the Guardian Asset Management Company. This was Denise Michalski in my office's idea to keep them on the hook potentially. And so they gave us money that the borough incurred for the cleanup. So the plan here is to put this money back into the cleanup fund to fund future cleanups.
Mm-hmm. Assemblyperson Sumner, did you have?
Oh, no, I just saw Nick moving his head. I was going to say, get some input from the attorney.
Okay.
So did that work kind of as a lean towards, basically for our
Well,
cleanup, we got paid for it?
because they were in possession at the time we filed the lawsuit, we added them as a party. We had a hard time finding everybody who was added as a party because it took us so long to, again, Denise in my office did the case. When the property was cleaned up, we didn't dismiss the case right away. We let it play out to see what happened. They refunded our cleanup costs, and so that resolved the case. Because now they can sell the property and move on.
Okay, I guess that's it. Thank you, sir. I'll go ahead and open public hearing on ordinance 25-072 and resolution 25-055. We do not have a sign-up sheet. Is anybody that would like to address the assembly on this ordinance or resolution? Do we have anybody online? We do not have any. Yes, come on.
Michael Bowles, Bowles. I just want to thank the efforts of the planning department. The last year, they have done an outstanding job cleaning up the borough. And so I just want on the record say thank you. Just in our area, we've seen junk cars removed. And we've been seeing, excuse me, the program of allowing borough residents to reach out to the planning department to have junk vehicles removed. You know, those types of programs are what's needed. Those programs help people that can't necessarily afford to do it on their own. And also ensuring that people get reimbursed for the work that they put forward, and doing things like that is important. So thank you very much to the assembly members as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Mike. And last time, anyone else that would like to address the assembly? Okay, still nobody online. Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing then on ordinance 25-072 and resolution 25-055. And Deputy Mayor.
I move to adopt ordinance 25-072 and resolution 25-055.
Discussion by the assembly. Yes, Assemblyperson Fana, go ahead.
This is like Mr. Attorney said, we weren't really expecting to recoup our money, but this is part of what is in the process of creating the diversion program. And basically, this is almost a different way for some people potentially who qualify to pay the debt to society in a different way. But then this was the value of what the work has been done. And then basically in this way, we are actually going to take the money and continue to do more cleanups with that. And it is, this is a great thing. This is the famous Heatherway property that's had a lot of discussion. They were really united around this one property, and they kept on bugging. And after several years of ongoing things, we were able to complete this, and the property's clean, got some money back for it, and I think it really benefits that area and just overall the fund for the cleanup efforts going forward.
Further discussion by the assembly. Is there any objection to the legislation? Okay, seeing and hearing none, and the ordinance and resolution have passed. And the next item we have is audience participation. We do not have a sign-up sheet. If you have testified under the first audience participation, you are not allowed to speak on this one. But if you haven't spoken on the first audience participation, then okay, come forward, Senator.
I couldn't tell what he was saying.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Borough Assembly folks. My name is David Wilson, West City resident, and today I'm representing my employer, Matsu Health Foundation. Just want to remind folks that Monday at 6 p.m. is our annual membership meeting. Come on down to the Menard Center at 6 p.m. $5 to become a member, and then you can enjoy the membership meeting, have dinner. Again, $5 for a wonderful barbecue dinner. Barbecue Babes, I believe, is hosting and catering the event. And you can meet our new CEO and executive president, Esther Pitts. and hear about some upcoming new items, see what we did last year and possible what's coming up in the future. And there are big plans coming forth for the upcoming year. And you'll have some hints and previews on Monday with follow-up meetings with you guys after July 9th. So with that, I feel free to come by Monday and we'll follow up and talk with you guys individually. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Have anybody online, sir? No? Okay. So I'll go ahead and close audience participation then. And Madam Clerk.
AM 25058, awarded bid number 25160B to Valley General Construction LLC in the contract amount $678,971 for North Helen Lane reconstruction. AM 25059, awarded proposal number 25140P to PND Engineers in the contract amount of $264,572 to design a bridge replacement on Bradley Road. AM 2560, approval of contract number 1 for contract 24114B with Otna Construction and Primary Products Company for the Lakes Boulevard upgrade project and to extend the final completion date to September 30th, 2025. AM 25062, authorizing the manager to sign a grant application with the Alaska Sustainable Salmon Fund for fish passage culvert replacements at 49th State Street and Turn Drive at the Wasilla Creek tributary and authorizing submittal for application.
Discussion by the, oh, I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor.
I move to approve the consent agenda as read into the record by the clerk.
Discussion? Is there any objection? Okay, so the consent agenda has been approved, but we had one item that was pulled, right, Madam Clerk?
Resolution 2561, authorization to reduce the use fees for the Alcantara Fields by 50% for the Alaska Polar Fast Pitch Softball Group. It was pulled by Assemblymember McKee.
Okay, Assembly Member McKee, would you like to move so we can, and then you can discuss your reasoning?
Yeah, very, very briefly. I just had some questions. I don't know how many softball teams there are or other kinds of teams. I'm wondering if...
You need to move it first, ma'am, and then go ahead and discuss.
Okay, am I still on then? Okay. I move to adopt 25 RS 25-061.
Okay, now go ahead and discuss now. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. And when the gentleman was here before, and I admire him greatly for working with these young folks and doing all this stuff. But my question is, if we do this, does that kind of like put us at risk for everybody coming and saying, well, they got theirs reduced by half and that's what we want too? Is that, and how much is this amount? Those are the two major questions I have.
Okay. Does someone, first of all, have an amount? You do? All right. Is there any objection for getting staff to give us input? Okay, come, sir.
Thank you. Hugh Leslie, Recreation Library Services Manager. Through the mayor to Assemblyperson McKee, I believe she asked the question, what was the amount of the money that was going to be discounted? So the Polar Fast Pitch League has booked 102 hours, which translates to $490. So it would be I'm going to round up just because math was hard for me. It would be the cost would go to $250 for them to use it versus $500.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And that's really great. I admire that there was some give and take there. I think that's really important to teach young people that, yeah, we're not just giving you this, you earned it. So I don't have any more questions about it.
Okay.
I'm for it.
All right. Thank you. Further discussion by the Assembly. Yes, Assembly.
Yeah, that was my comment, just to follow on what Assemblymember McKee said, is that we're not just giving them a break, that they're out there actually maintaining the fields and doing work for just a 50% reduction, which is only a couple $100. I find that admirable. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Pana.
If you remember, they came in a couple times during the budget season, the group, and their demand was pretty, I would say, unreasonable. They wanted completely for free stuff. And then we've got to some directors and said, let's value what they can input, pretty much sweat equity. and equalize that. And that would, it came out to about 50%. So they're not, as part of NIM, you'll see that they are going to be providing services. So, so it doesn't set the precedent that we're just giving a discount. They're going to have responsibility. And if they don't follow that, that discount can be taken away, so that you understand.
Okay. Further discussion? Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Good job, Dimitri.
Further discussion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, then the AM has passed. Madam Clerk.
Unfinished business is ordinance 25059, an ordinance amending MSB 4.80, Agricultural Advisory Board to remove term limits for the board.
Okay, there is a main motion on the floor. Is there further discussion? And for those of you that didn't hear, the Ag Board voted to remove. That was in the manager's weekly post, but just to be sure that, so it's on the record, okay? Any further discussion by the Assembly? Okay, any objection to the motion? Okay, so the motion passes then, or the legislation passes and the motion passes too, I guess, yeah. All righty, Madam Clerk.
Introduction for public hearing on June 16th, ordinance 25042 with accompanying resolution 2535, ordinance 2550, ordinance 2574 with accompanying resolution 2560, ordinance 2575, and for public hearing on July 15th, ordinance 2576.
Okay, Deputy Mayor.
I move to introduction the legislation. I moved the introduction of the legislation as read into the record by the clerk and set the public hearings for June 17th, 2025 and July 15th, 2025, respectively.
Okay, discussion by the Assembly. Is there any objection? Hearing none, then the legislation has been introduced. Vacancy report, then Deputy Mayor.
I move to confirm the mayor's recommendation as follows. Joint Assembly School Board Committee on School District Funding Issues, Maxwell Summer. Joint Assembly School Board Committee on School Issues, resignation of Maxwell Sumner. Library Citizen Advisory Committee, Bruce Owens. Midway RSA number 9, Tammy Schmidt.
Okay, discussion by the Assembly. Is there any objection? Hearing no objection, then the vacancy report has been approved. There is no new business, there's no referrals, there is no reconsiderations, I guess. Don't see anybody raising their hand or anything. Okay, and the executive session took place before, and this too, does this have the, oh, there's, before the executive, I was going to say I don't have the parting comments. Okay, so parting comments, Mr. Attorney, parting comments, please.
No, thanks again for the discussion at the 4 o'clock, and everyone have a good evening.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor, parting comments?
I'd like to take and give a shout out to Burnt Toast, which is a little restaurant, hole in the wall, right behind Pioneer Bar, up there in Willow. I guess they have some really super good food. I was told I should take my wife there.
Oh.
So it's one of those places.
Oh, okay.
So other than that, I just wanted to thank, dear Lord, thank you for your mercy and your grace. Thank you for your never-ending love. We praise your greatness and your miracles. We ask you to protect our first responders, our military, our teachers, and our leadership. We ask you to bless our veterans and our elders. We ask you to guide our youth on a path that leads to you, Lord. Please help the sick, the broken, the hurt, the addicted. Please, we pray for everyone in the borough, state, and nation. Please send your Holy Spirit to speak to our hearts. May we do your will. May you bless our freezers and smokers with fish. In Jesus' name, amen.
Assemblyperson Hale, Parting
No,
comment?
no comment. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Assemblyperson Nowers, parting comment?
Yes, congrats to the attorney on being stuck with us for another year. Thank you very much. Thankful for my fellow assembly members' help with math tonight. That was not my forte, so thank you, Ron and Max. Grateful that we sent that legislation through the Ag Advisory Board, even though it slowed us down. I think it was good practice. And thankful also for the homeless opioid treatment legislation that passed. I think that'll, like help keep a bad situation from cropping up and hopefully give good guidelines for people in the valley. I want to say my amendments on the camp, for what they're worth, it's 2 intersections that weren't labeled what they were going to be. Like the other one's Marco, it's going to be a right in, right out. It's going to be a cul-de-sac. It's going to be a left turn. So I just noticed those 2 weren't marked, and I asked about it. And so it's just they're clerical more than anything. And that's in consultation with the staff to get what they're supposed to be, according to the folks who recommended it. I was really encouraged to see there was a local flower farm that had a really tragic fire that burnt all their inventory, burnt up their greenhouse at the peak of the season, and it destroyed their crop, and it destroyed some of the freezers and equipment they had, and the community just rallied right away to help them out. It's a young couple. I don't know them, but the story was they've been, just started out farming, and they had been leasing land and just bought this. And so it was just a huge setback, and the community just rallied with some money, and hopefully can get them back on their feet. So it just reminds me what a great place Valley is. Nice to see that. There's one other thing I was going to mention. Maybe it was the wolf. Oh, I know. On a more serious note, the Job Corps closing, if you haven't seen that. There's been a directive to close all Job Corps centers nationwide, including the one in Palmer, which is the only, it's the Don Young, Alaska Job Corps facility. We have 100+ students that come there from around the state. It's like a 20-acre campus, been there for several years. It's a big deal, and I think is maybe in a separate category than some of the other facilities in the lower 48 where there's more options. But it provides a resource for people to get trained, and it's the students are able to live there and have room and board. So I'm still learning about it, but I think that's a really big impact for our community. I know there's a lot of folks that are working with the delegation to try to get that reversed. My understanding at this point is that they have said that the students all need to be sent home in the next week or 2, and closure by the end of June. So that's a big deal, and I just want to make people aware of it.
Okay, Mr. Brown, parting comments?
Be
sir?
brief, Madam Mayor. Thank you. I will give a shout out to Amy. The Matanuska-Susitna turned 1 year old, even though she turned down my suggestive headline about the excise tax. So I'll share it with you. And I do have a short 1-page article because you are going to get a lot of questions. I recognize your phone will be blowing up for different reasons. Please feel free to send people my way. I'm happy to sit down, talk through. The flyer's public, the debt chart's public. The title was Building Roads, Not Debt, a Better Road to Sustainable Infrastructure. And so it just outlines the basics about what we're trying to do here, so it just doesn't come across as another tax to grow government. Like, I totally recognize why people would make that assumption. So I can help with that, providing information. Just call me, text me, or whatever. We'll try to help provide information. I'm not in the business of marketing, but we certainly can provide facts. So that's all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, parting comment?
Earlier this evening, somebody had expressed concerns about schools being precincts. I just want to remind the Assembly, the school board did say that they would not be open on election days. So that's my anticipation for this year also. I will double check with them to make sure that is still the case. We already do have precincts at churches and at firehouses. We don't have as many firehouses as people think we do spread out through the borough, so we can't use them all. And also, just so you know, the state, in reference to allowing felons to vote, you have to be unconditionally discharged and go through that process with the state of Alaska to be put back on the voter rolls. It's not just as simple as getting back on the voter rolls.
Assemblyperson Sumner, parting comments?
Yeah, I'm excited to see what the Sentinel's headline is for the gas excise tax. I also wanted to thank the rest of the assembly for helping put that conditional use permit for the homeless shelters and opioid treatment centers over the finish line. Another shout out to Alex Strawn, the planning director in the planning department, and Mark Weisenhunt, who helped draft that ordinance. I mean, I definitely couldn't have written that by myself. I would have been lost. I did want to add that I am also tapping Mark and Alex to deal with one of the issues that leads to homelessness, which is affordable housing. We have been working for months drafting some changes to 1773. There's some good parts of it, but I think that it does stymie the development of affordable housing. I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, which would be repealing all of 17.73, but they're working diligently to draft some ordinance, and you guys should look forward to seeing that introduction. And thank you.
Assemblyperson Gamble, parting comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd also like to give a shout out to Alex for all the help with the outpatient opioid treatment legislation and the homeless shelter legislation. You got a great crew in the planning department right now. Really appreciate it. And Mr. Manager, I hope you have your road show ready to go for the gas tax, because I'm going to be calling on you. Thank you.
Assemblyperson Vaughn, parting comments?
Thank you very much. My only comment today, if you heard from North Lake Community Council President, I have an email, there's some of the stuff we were discussing in detail during the last community council meeting, and it was very informative. There's basically a parcel that state of Alaska in the process of getting rid of. And what I would like to do is ask Borough Manager to look into options, what it would take, and then give us a report on how feasible it would be, because there's a very good potential to benefit the public, create more float slips. I could talk to you individually, but basically just so we can see what the option would be if we wanted to, because we would have a priority before it goes to the general public. And I think there's an appetite from very well organized community council. There is a lot of people who they already even looking at how to create and put this together. So I think this would be something good for community, and at the same time, possibly maybe even benefiting the airplane community in some ways. So there could be a good partnership there. So that's all I have.
Discussion by the assembly regarding Assemblyperson Fanoff's direction to the.
So that would be boat slips for assembly members?
I don't have to, so I don't have to excuse myself from this discussion.
Assemblyperson Sumner.
Yeah, I was actually present at the North Lakes Community Council where the DNR came up with a presentation of what their intent was for the land liquidation, I guess. And there was a lot of people from the community and affected neighborhoods that came out. They were very interested, concerned, mostly concerned. So yeah, I would second what Mr. Farnoff says. There's definitely some interest in this proposal.
Further discussion by the assembly, the direction for the manager. Okay. Assemblyperson McKee, parting comments, ma'am?
Yeah, first of all, for the constant interruption of my dogs barking and everything else, I just wasn't hitting the right button, and I apologize for that. I'd also like to give an unexpected shout out to the many people who showed up to talk about the libraries, because I'm a huge fan of libraries. I grew up in libraries because they were the one thing that we could afford because it was free. And the programs that you're offering are excellent. I hope they continue. And I don't care, honest to God, I don't care if you run around in your backyard naked as a jaybird, smoking a joint and reading nasty books in each hand. I don't care. That is your right. But I want you to understand the only thing that we who are on the other side from you care about these babies, as I'm sure you do, but we have a different perspective. I wish we could work together a little more closely so that we didn't have this animosity, because for me, there is none. And I also want to give a shout out to Jillian Morrissey. Talked to her about a month ago, and she had a survey out about how the community felt about what we're trying to do to protect our children. And at that point, there were 2 days left to go on the survey, so she had 53% of the community was in favor of what we're trying to do with putting the books in other sections. and taking care of our babies. So bless you for being so interested in our libraries. Bless you for supporting them, and bless our librarians for all the wonderful things that they do. I hope we get this thing resolved and that you do understand our heart for this. Other than that, great meeting. Thank you very much, and thanks for putting up with my inability to operate my phone.
Alrighty, so I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 9:26 PM.
You will now be disconnected.